Who wants to be Jared now?
I want to be Jared every day
Cool.
of my life, and I really hope that this is on recording.
It is.
Perfect.
Do you want to speak as Jared?
I would love to speak as Jared every day of my life.
All right, we got Paul to do more reading than he needed to.
I know, yeah, no, I don't want to read, but I really want to be Jared.
Okay.
Can
I'm confused as to what your take is on this situation, though. Do you want to be Jared here or no? Do you want to read narrator parts?
I'll read Jared's parts, yeah, that's fine.
Can I get epic?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Oh, that's perfect. Alright, we ready?
Ready. Who's ready to get sad?
Me. Do I need my wine tonight?
You're just gonna build up the sadness for tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good. In that case, it begins. The two of you wake up next to each other on dry dirt ground. It's packed flat and free of debris and flora like a common city pathway. Around you are stone walls 10 feet high, forming a courtyard. You see a 3-story stone building within the walls, familiar but foreign. The sky above you is night, but illuminated by twice as many stars as you're used to seeing. There's some kind of wispy smoke hanging high in the night sky among the stars, like a thick branch of a tree or a murky river. It seems to be made of dark clouds frozen in place. You do not see San, the prisoners, or other enemy soldiers who were nearby when you were teleported. Let me know what you would like to do. You can freely talk to each other. Oh, and you are not carrying Riffraff or Wave.
Orryn asks if we are still in a mid-battle state. Is Dilue still beat up? Or does it feel like a rest has happened?
You are both as beaten up as when the battle ended. In fact, you feel weary, like the weight of your journey has caught up to you.
Dilue, wake up. And I try and cast Healing Word on her. You okay?
Orryn, that spell feels different to you as you cast it, as if the healing energy was leaking into the air. You think Dilue got some of the benefit from it, but barely.
Dilue kind of wrinkles her nose at Orryn, both because the answer to his question is clearly no, and because of the lackluster healing spell. I feel like a pile of hot trash, thank you. Hang on. What the fuck is this? Where are we? By the end of that sentence, she's gone from looking groggy to freaked out.
Taking a moment to focus on your surroundings, it immediately becomes clear why it looks familiar. This is a twisted version of Barnabas Reverine's estate in Kronos. The stones are worn from centuries of wind and rain, and the architecture is just slightly twisted towards Gothic style. Yes, otherwise you have all your gear.
Dilue wouldn't have any reason to recognize this, right?
Correct. Thank you for the reminder. So that becomes clear just to Orryn.
Without context for the location, I imagine this just looks creepy and weird. Dilue will pick herself up carefully and reach for Riffraff, only to notice that she's missing. Where's my sword? She hisses, looking even more freaked out, and draws a dagger instead.
Devin, you're muted.
Sorry. Relax. Wave's gone too. Orryn gets up and dusts himself off. I've been here before. It looks like we're in Kronos, a state owned by a guy named Barnabas. But it wasn't this old and twisty when I saw it last. Given the way that pendant works, though, I guess this place only looks like Kronos, so that's concerning. He looks around for a door.
Kronos? Dilue looks rattled and not at all reassured to know that Wave is gone too. She starts to call out for Riffraff, but realizes that's dumb, and instead closes her eyes and tries to reach out with her mind. Riff, can you hear me?
You do see the main entrance in roughly the same position at the front of the building, large double wooden doors. They look like they've been opened at some point recently, as the rust around the hinges has been cracked. Dilue, Riffraff doesn't answer you, but you hear some haunting whispers in your mind as you try to reach out. Other voices, no words you can make out.
Well, she hates that. Is that entrance leading from the estate to the city, or the entrance... Is that the entrance leading from the estate to the city, or the entrance to the building within the walls?
Both exist. The door I was describing goes into the building. The door out of the courtyard has fallen from its hinges and lies in the dirt. You can see a city street beyond it.
Orryn is definitely feeling the weight of their journeys. But seeing Dilue panic a little, he is trying his best to keep his regular, light, jovial attitude. Well, looks like our options are out or in. What say you, Captain Franifraxis? Lead the way. Or maybe point the way, but stand behind me. You look like hell, and my healing magic doesn't appear to be packing its usual punch.
She gives him a stink eye, her pride her pride warring with pragmatism. She does, in fact, feel like hell. I'd have to get pretty close to the ground to be behind you, Captain Featherface. But she doesn't make a move to go first. Check the front gate, make sure there's nothing out there, then secure the building. She'd follow a few paces behind him, daggers out.
Sounds good. Maybe use your detect thoughts, see if anyone is around. Oh, also, speaking of captains, I tried to send this before the fight, but those scrollbirds aren't as hardy as I'd hoped. Though after what I saw, it seems you've earned it twice over now. And he pulls out a slightly crushed but altogether intact hat with very similar to his He pulls out a slightly crushed but altogether intact, very similar to his own, but with God, what is wrong with my mouth? One more time. He pulls out a slightly crushed but altogether intact hat, very similar to his own, but this one is black. And where his feather is blue with two smaller white ones, this one is red with two smaller black ones. Captain needs a proper hat. Weird time to gift it, I know, but I'm sick of carrying it around, and if things are going to pop off, we might as well do it in style. He hands Dilue the hat and starts walking to prepare to peek around the alley after Dilue uses the medallion. And yeah, Orryn is fully healed and undamaged.
Ellie stares at the hat for a moment, then snorts and halfway smiles, donning it. Make us even less subtle. I love it, thanks. She activates the medallion and creeps up to the wall next to the front gate, so the spell will extend as far as possible into the street outside, in a 30-foot radius, searching for any thoughts outside the courtyard, or in it, for that matter.
Normally, the medallion only works when you focus it on someone you can see, but activating it here, you pick up dozens of voices with no clear source. You hear surface thoughts of pain, regret, longing, and spite. Looking out the front gate, you do see shadows moving in the street, as if people are moving nearby around every corner, just out of sight.
Clarify just for the D&D nerds out there that actually detect thoughts can be used like this, but that's not important.
Orryn whispers to Dilue, well, that looks like a lot of trouble right out the gate. Pun intended. And he giggles to himself.
Dilue spares some time away from being super unsettled to give him a look. She takes a peek around the corner of the gate and shivers. I can hear people, like a lot of people, and they're all pretty miserable, but I can't tell where they're coming from.
Orryn tries to sneakily peek out around the corner.
And we clarify that Dilue and Orryn have just poked their heads out one on top of the other like a cartoon.
Oh my god.
Is this real? Are we in another one of Echo's dream things?
It's real. That medallion San had teleports you to another plane of existence, but if you absolutely beef your concentration when you're using it like they did, it drags everyone around you to some random place on another plane. We are very far away from home. I say we go into the building and introduce ourselves to whoever's in there.
Dilue makes this face.
Hey, Orryn elbows her in the side or hip, height appropriate area. We got this. Nothing two war hero captains can't handle.
A random plane? Like a whole different plane? Like just any of them? Aren't there a lot of planes like the planes where the ghost lives? What the fuck, Orryn? She ducks properly back into the courtyard to have this existential crisis.
Here I asked Jared how much, I know Devin knows about D&D planes, but how much does Orryn know? Especially in relation to what Dilue heard with the mind thing.
Yeah. Jared.
I would say you're both casually familiar with the concept of planes in general, and your description of them matches what you would know for sure. Orryn, with your Arcana, you likely know the basics of what all the common planes are known for, including hell.
Dilue kind of shrinks down against the wall, wide-eyed, as her mind jumps from bad concept to worse concept. Then if we're in Kronos...
I think we skipped a line up above.
Nope, that's Dilue making assumptions.
Okay, where did I say hell?
No.
Anyways.
Just now, just in this next line.
Oh, sorry, I missed it. Orryn is still peeking out into the alley. From what you described, there's a small chance that we are in hell. He looks back and sees Dilue having a breakdown against the wall.
Fucking, of course we are. Why would we be anywhere else? Wait, like real hell?
Yep. Or maybe not. Maybe just a place where everyone is sad and afraid and angry, but let's assume worst case scenario and expect hell.
Weirdly, this kind of calms her down, or at least shifts her over from freaking out to grim resignation. Okay, well, sure. Why not? Pretty sure people in Kronos have awfully good reason to be miserable either way. She stares at the ground for a minute and then straightens up, casting a look over at the front door. Might as well see who's in there. Could be your guy Barnabas.
Damn right. If Dilue found a Fraxis and Orryn Iron Helmet in hell, it's the demons that should be worried. He starts heading towards the door. I doubt Barnabas is in there, though, unless he died and was a lot worse than I thought. Do be ready for Son, though. If Bane was right, we can't kill him without wave or riffraff, but we can still kick his ass.
Riley follows him, frowning. I ain't worried about San. I had him on the ropes.
Hell yeah, you did. Asshole couldn't even make a shield that blocks spells.
You enter the main audience hall on the first floor of the complex. The starlight from the few windows barely illuminates the space, and the dust on every surface gives the impression that the whole room is rendering grayscale. There are 5 wooden chairs in the room, arranged in a semicircle. The furthest left chair is simple and wooden, but intact. The next chair is also wooden, but has been burned by some fire and left in disrepair. The central chair is ornate silver. The next chair is again wooden and intact, and the furthest right chair is burned and destroyed.
And I'm just going to put in a note here for our listeners, since Dilue and Orryn will never return to this point or realize this. They definitely represent the 5 cities of the Torchline, because that perfectly maps to which cities are destroyed.
I was trying to figure out what the fuck these were
Yep.
representing, and you're right.
Yep. Anyway,
Yeah.
carry on.
There's no way I would have put that together, so I'm glad you pointed that out. Sorry. Sitting in the central chair is a figure Orryn immediately recognizes. This is Epic, dressed in simple rags. Despite his dirt-stained face and clothing, he treats his chair like a throne and sits expectantly, presiding over the mostly empty room. On the floor at Epic's feet is another figure. Judging by its robe, it appears to be the fire genasi who was performing the ritual on the Dizzy Mother, who San had been protecting. The sage's robes are tattered, and the hood is drawn over his face, hiding it.
Fancy seeing you here, dick.
Dilue doesn't immediately recognize Epic, but tenses at the sight of the Genasi, one of her daggers ready to throw at any sign of aggression.
Epic stays seated. I'm equally delighted and surprised in our reunion, Orryn.
Well, AJ's doing Epic.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. I'm equally delighted and surprised at our reunion, Orryn. I had worried we would never meet again.
Same, though I was hoping it would be in the form of getting my ring back. Dilue, this is Epic. That asshole Thane was so curious about. Orryn walks over and grabs one of the empty wooden chairs. So, how have you been?
Dilue startles a bit when Orryn starts to walk forward, looking like she wants to hold him back, but bites it back and follows him. She doesn't sit, though, just hangs behind Orryn's shoulder.
You're able to reach a chair and sit. Neither of the figures in the room make any move to stop you. Epic even smiles to see you get comfortable. He pets the robed figure at his feet like a large dog. The sage growls quietly.
Better than ever. I always try to make the best of imperfect circumstances. It's a skill that served Smokework well. Now I can use it for my own benefit alone. I've carved out a little kingdom here. I have to say, you've given me quite the opening.
Have we? How so?
Epic looks towards the window, though not at anything in particular that you can tell.
This is a place for half-dead things. You've left quite a few of those in your wake. New arrivals make for easy thralls, and the day you split open the sky, I found a power I never knew possible. It spills into me like blood from a wound into a goblet. I've been drinking my fill.
And San? Dilue asks, trying not to let her face give away how horrified she is.
Orryn has his eyes locked on Epic in a serious stare.
The Earth Genasi came and went. He has power and a distaste for the chaos I thrive on. He sat in this room and we attempted to parley, but there's no negotiating with a stone. He spoke into his little trinket and vanished. He can enjoy the pale river alone. I'll make do with his companions.
Ah, yes, the Warforged. We'll be needing them back when whatever happens here is finished.
Or before, or immediately. What did San want with you?
Epic rolls his eyes.
You're just like him. Old demands. You must bear gifts to a king before you make your requests.
Sorry, I'm all out of gifts.
What would you ask of us? Besides, we're not just anyone. I've known you in life, Epic. I caused your death. I carried you in my hand. I would think some special treatment would be in order.
Epic gets serious.
I've made the best of my life since we last spoke, Orryn, but it is a half-life. Do not look at my victories after our crossing and call your opposition a gift. Even the thralls you've sent and rifts you've opened for me were inadvertent. A gift must be given, not found.
He subconsciously rubs his ring finger.
You can bring me the ring. Bring me my anchor to the prime material. While it stays on Althan's hands, my connection to this place is at risk. Secure it for me, and I will grant you answers to anything you wish, and a passage home.
He considers briefly.
Or grant me one of those wonderful weapons you've found. With that power, I could take the ring back myself.
Orryn chuckles.
How the hell would we get it from Althan? Unless somebody killed him while I wasn't paying attention.
Sounds like if he dies with the ring on his finger, our old pal Epic here is fucked, isn't that right? And the weapons are off the table, and we don't bargain with our friends.
Epic nods.
Althan's death while he wears the ring is exactly what I wish to avoid. The ring, like me, is caught between worlds. I can't send you to Althan, but if you find his shadow in the city, you should be able to procure the ring there.
Diley leans forward a little. Those shadows. Some of them are the people you killed with your little fireworks show, aren't they?
Quite a number of them, yes. I'm kind of a big deal around here.
What are the shadows?
Diley is holding very still in the way she does when she's just barely holding back from jumping someone. They're ghosts, Orryn. Probably the ones who couldn't move on because somebody blew up the city underneath their feet.
Well, some of them seem to be, but he said we could find Althan's shadow, and Althan is alive, so what are they? He looks again at Orryn. Recognizing her posture, Orryn casts a message to Dilue. Just know if we try and jump him here and now, we die. You're barely standing, and I'm almost out of spells.
Diley messages back with the mental equivalent of gritted teeth. I know, and I haven't tried to slit his throat yet.
The shadows aren't any one thing. This place catches all the lost pieces of souls separated from their life force. Take my friend here.
He pulls back the hood on the sage, revealing a fire genasi that appears to be a zombie or a ghoul, his skin shriveled like a corpse.
Here I have what remains of this creature. his body and animus, but his spirit and mind are gone. There are some out there with different slices of themselves remaining, depending on what horror rent them.
He goes on.
Althen is different. He will appear in this place much like this city, a reflection of his power in the real world. He has great strength, and individuals like that can be felt across the boundary of planes.
Interesting. And if we bring you the ring, what happens next?
I'll answer your questions to the best of my extensive knowledge, and I will use my new divine power to send you back to your friends in the prime material. I'll even return those Warforged prisoners to you if you ask very, very nicely.
Doesn't seem like all that much in exchange for something that guarantees your power in this plane forever.
And if we refuse?
Then you are free to wander this shadow plane for eternity, or until the monsters out there find you. I'm not the only one responsible for those shadows, and some of them hold a grudge.
Is there a reason you expect me to be afraid of something I already killed once?
Defeat as many shadows as you wish. None can offer you escape as I can.
Would you mind giving us a moment to discuss amongst ourselves?
Of course. Take your time. There's a bedroom made for you upstairs if you wish to rest or speak in private. I'll be here. I'm always here.
How kind, Dilue drawls. The snake wants to let us sleep in his nest.
Orryn stands up. Considering this whole place appears to be his nest, I think it's our only option. Plus, at the moment, he needs us alive. Let's get comfortable. He looks at Dilue and gestures with his head like he's like, let's go, and starts making his way towards the stairs.
Her face goes blank. She cocks her head and follows him upstairs.
Orryn tries to find the room that he mentioned.
You find the bedroom where you protected Marinto, made up for the two of you to sleep. It's a simple room, but there's a window covered in dust. It could be the best view of the city you've gotten so far, but for now it's just murky starlight through the grime.
Orryn messages Dilue. I don't know if this is private, but it's the best we've got, so let's only talk through message.
Glad we're on the same page about that.
Letting Jared know that unless otherwise stated, all communication from this point forward will be in message. Throw up a hand sign if you want me to initiate.
She walks over to the window and will open it if possible. So we are not getting him the ring.
Yeah, for sure. We need to find Wave and Riffraff, but there's a solid chance they aren't here at all.
I tried reaching out to Riffraff earlier and all I got was ghosts. Shadows, I guess. I don't know how far she could be and still hear me, though.
Orryn tries to reach out to Wave.
Reaching out to Wave, you're similarly greeted by the sounds of the half-dead. Opening the window, you see the city appears to be all of Kronos, at least. There are some small number of buildings with lantern light in the windows, but not many. There are creatures crawling in the shadows of rooftops, scurrying away from any light. In the sky, you now see that a branch of smoke among the stars is part of a larger figure, an arm of a broken giant human form, the body composed of smoke and stars itself. It's strewn across the night sky like a murder scene. Its limbs twisted, its dead face frozen in pain. A crown appears in stars around its head.
I literally said, oh no, out loud. I just feel like that's worth preserving.
Does it bear any resemblance to any of the god, or in any way to the god of roads?
Tyler gazes up at this and says softly, contemplatively, "Motherfucker."
It does appear similar to the appearance of the god of roads.
Well, there he is. What an asshole.
Tyler turns and gives Orryn an unreadable look. Yeah, what an asshole. In case it wasn't clear she's talking about Orryn. We're not staying here.
Yeah, but we are for tonight.
No. She turns back to the window and leans on the sill. Looks like some of those things are scared of the light, at least. We could try one of those places with the lanterns lit.
Listen, right now we have nothing. We need to rest. You go first. I'll stay awake. Once we're back to full, we can carve a path through the monsters.
She goes on like she didn't hear him. I've got a lot of experience finding corners to hide in. If those houses aren't safe, we can find a basement or something and light it up.
Dilue, look at me. He tugs on her shirt until he has her attention.
She jumps a little at the tug on her shirt, so tense she is basically vibrating. When she does turn around, her face is carefully blank.
We are in a half-held demiplane with a wannabe god that I had a hand in killing, under the armpit of an actual god that we also had a hand in killing. This is not business as usual. We need every advantage we can get. Please go to sleep so you can help keep all of my blood inside my body when we go into the horrible wasteland full of thralls.
Orryn, I spent years going from safe house to safe house and hiding like a fucking rat because if Smokework ever even caught wind I was alive, they would hunt me down and kill me in my bed. Probably after they pried enough information out of my head to kill Thane, too. I'm not gonna sleep in his fucking house. Her voice cracks a little. I couldn't if I wanted to.
They're all his house, Dilue. This whole place is his, and right now we are the only people that can help him become a god. He needs us. I get it, you're freaking out, this whole thing is fucked, but we aren't in a town dodging Smokework. Orryn's tone is getting more frustrated. We are in a game of Epic's design, and right now we have to play by his rules. Just, god damn it, just trust me, okay? He kind of deflates and looks up to her, visibly tired for the first time. Please.
Needing someone and fucking with them aren't mutually exclusive. Ask me how I know. She looks out the window again, looking exhausted. You said it yourself. He's half a god. Who's to say he won't read our minds as soon as we're asleep? He could be doing it already. Who's to say he doesn't have some other way of taking control of us? I trust you, Orryn. I just don't think you really know what you're dealing with. I think you're tired and you want to rest somewhere. And in my experience, that's when you slip up.
In my experience, when the other person thinks they have all the cards, your best bet is to start playing your own game. He expects us to fight and to thrash and to push back, hoping he can wear us down or we die. And what he doesn't expect is for us to calmly make our way through this place, business as usual, until he makes a mistake and we can strike. He takes off his hat and holds the bridge of his nose and scrunches his face in frustration. But if it would make you feel better, we can leave. Where do you want to go?
When he says that Epic wants them to fight, a little bit of hesitation comes to her face. She looks out the window for a while, calculating the distance to the nearest of the buildings with lanterns lit, and remembering that even walking up the stairs to this room was exhausting. And they didn't have to fight any ghouls in the process. It's not just the weariness of the fight on the Dizzy Mother or her injuries catching up with her, but the whole tense, horrible week of barely sleeping in the storm.
Orryn sits on one of the beds. What's it gonna be?
She folds her arms on the windowsill and buries her face in them. Couple of hours, no more. I just need to clear my head a little. Can you watch for magic stuff?
Yeah, I'll keep watch. Orryn goes and sits with his back against the door. Rest. Orryn hopes that Dilue will fall asleep and he can keep her asleep for 8 hours.
Dilue looks around the room, assessing it, then picks a corner away from the window and the door with a view of both. She folds herself into the corner, leaning her back on the wall and resting her arms on her knees. She picks some dried blood off the backs of her hands, wearily. Orryn?
Yeah?
There's something I need to do here, if I can. Some people I have to try to find. I hope they won't be here, but if they are, I have to know.
You got nothing but time, it seems. I'll help you find whoever you need.
Thanks. She rests her head on her arms. Just please don't ask me to say any more than that.
You got it.
It takes Dilue a while to fall asleep, and once or twice she sniffs and scrubs at her eyes without letting Orryn see her face. But eventually exhaustion wins out and her breathing evens out.
Orryn just sits and keeps watch and let her get a long rest. He thinks a lot about Wave, the reclining shepherd, and how the hell they're going to get out of here until she wakes up.
Several hours pass, and Dilue eventually finds some sleep. After she wakes, you both consider that you've been stationary, resting for longer than you ever got at sea, but neither of you feels stronger. Dilue, your wounds feel no closer to mending. Orryn, you feel no closer to restoring your connection to your magic. Epic opens the door without knocking.
Good.
Dilu's,
Oh, sorry.
no. Dilu scrambles to her feet with a dagger in hand.
Good morning.
He says, the sky outside is still perpetual night.
As they say, time heals no wounds. Are you ready to begin your errand now?
Go away, Epic. We know what we need to do.
Forgive my eagerness. New partnerships are so invigorating.
He looks out the window and points to a tower on the villa several blocks away towards the center of towards the city center on a hill.
Althen should be there. At least most days he is. He sometimes walks the streets. What do you think he's doing in the prime material? I have to admit to some curiosity, wondering how the old crew is faring. But now they're my enemy, as long as he has that ring.
Towards the end of that, you get the sense he wasn't really talking to you, but generally happy to have someone to talk to.
Sure sounds like fun being king of this halfway hell.
Can't you still speak to him while he's wearing the ring?
I can, but it doesn't mean he'll answer. Lately it has been more advantageous to leave him in silence, make him think he's gotten what he wanted and shut me out. In my experience, when the other person thinks they have all the cards, your best bet is to start playing your own game.
He smiles, and I love this.
Oh, good. You can hear the message stuff. Well, that makes this easier.
At just about the same moment Orryn makes this remark, Dilu throws her knife at the wall next to Epic's head. You're not gonna like my fucking game for much longer, Epic.
The dagger strikes the wall and sticks there, blade into the wooden frame of the window.
Dilue, you want to hurt Smokework? We both lost ourselves fighting for them in our own ways. Hurt them now. Take something from Althen. If I can cement my rule here, you'll have a friend beyond the veil. Perhaps someone who can look favorably when time comes to judge your soul.
You won't be judging anyone, my friend. Let's go, Dilu.
Dilu laughs at that pretty hard. Fuck you. Fuck you. She takes a step closer to Epic. The difference between us is you deserve to lose everything. And you will. What? Or
There it is. Orange starts to make his way out of the room.
Dilu does too, but she backs towards the door like she can't bring herself to turn her back on Epic.
As we make our way down, I don't need to know why you need to find people, but if I'm going to help, I need to know who.
I told you not to ask me anything else, Dilu snaps.
Fair enough. To Alpha it is. And Orange starts making his way to the area Epic pointed out.
Dilu stops, gritting her teeth. I can't, Orryn. I can't tell you who. I'm not screwing with you. I'm telling you the truth. Would you please fucking trust me on this?
Orin looks at Dilu kind of surprised. No, yeah, we're cool. That's just the only place we have where we know something. If you see anything that changes that, let me know, though, and I'll help you how I can. He smiles and continues walking.
That's the only place we know where Althen is. Is he really the person you want to see right now?
I'm curious what he is here, but if you have a different place in town you want to start, have you ever been to Kronos? Orin is still walking as they talk.
Long time ago, my mama's. There was a big trade show or something. I was little. I don't remember it very well. She looks around the entrance to the weird, shadowy streets. I don't really know what I'm looking for either. We were speculating here that the rest of the party was going on a fun sword heist, maybe.
What?
I think the poorer districts are our best bet.
Sounds good. Let's go. Do you want to lead the way, or has it been too long?
She looks a little abashed. I don't really know my way around. Do you have any idea where we should go?
I've got some ideas. Let's go. Orin starts leading Dilu through the town.
She follows him, quieter than before. Thanks. Dilu's plan, because she doesn't have enough charges of detect thoughts to have it up constantly, is mainly to try to reach out with her mind to the shadows around them, using the surname of the spirits she's looking for. One question, have we felt hungry since we arrived?
You have definitely felt hungry.
Well, time to nibble on some jerky then. As they walk, Dilu will focus on the whispers she can hear from the half-dead, and try to reach out toward one, to the extent that she can isolate any one of them. Hey, can you hear me? What's your name? As you walk
the city, you see a greater variety of its residents. The shadows you've seen appear often in the windows and around corners, but they slink away when you try to focus on them. You sneak past zombies and skeletons, some patrolling the streets like guards, others roaming aimlessly. In one sidewalk cafe, you see a full meal served by some invisible hand and devoured by some invisible diners. There are ravens and crows through the city, though they make little sound, only watching you pass by below. Orryn guides you both to the working class part of the town he can remember from his last visit. Here, the decadent compounds and palaces are replaced by apartment housing, squeezing the workers of the city into the smallest possible space. Dilue, reaching out to the shadows, you are met by the same mournful emotions. You can get a few to tell you names, but after a while, you realize they are not telling you their own names, but instead the names of people they knew in life, calling out to loved ones for comfort, or the ones who killed them for revenge.
I think Dilu has a hard time not soaking up that grief, but at least it gives her some shred of hope that she might actually know if she finds the people she's searching for. She walks as if she were in a graveyard, quiet and sober. Knowing what she does now, she tries thinking his name instead of the family name, offering it to the spirits they pass in hope of reply. Thane. 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 It's not lost on her that she'd probably be saying the exact same thing if she were one of the trapped souls searching for comfort. There's a certain amount of comfort just in repeating his name.
Orryn just kind of wanders them through the streets once we get to that area with no real destination. If he sees another meal served like that one, he will try and steal it with invisible mage hand. Anything yet?
Bad form to steal a ghost's breakfast. That was out of character. Some of them talk to me, but no, not yet. She's pretty preoccupied deep in her head right now. There's just so many of them.
Well, let me know when you're done here. I've got another place we can check out in town for stuff.
Dilu nods absently. She would keep trying for a few hours at least, provided they don't run into anything nasty. Does she find them?
Oh, there was another line by you, but that's okay.
Yeah, he didn't answer it, so it's not important.
After a few hours of wandering, Dilue, you almost don't notice right away that a voice is repeating your mantra back to you. Thane, Thane. You are able to track their voice to a small building, this one especially dark as it sits in the shadow of larger structures around it. Inside the tiny apartment, you find two shadows huddled in one corner, arms wrapped around each other. You get no thoughts from them clearly, just pain and fear.
The moment she recognized that her message was being repeated, that they were here, Orryn would have seen a huge weight come down on her shoulders as she turned to follow the voices. As they reach the apartment, she says, Orryn, would you stay outside, please? And don't listen, even if you can. Just trust me, it's important. She looks crushed.
Orryn looks confused and a little concerned. Yeah, okay.
Dilu goes inside and approaches the shadows, trying to make her voice and movements soothing and non-threatening as she kneels in front of them. Hey, I know Thane. He's my best friend. For a moment, she's at a loss for words, her own grief threatening to spill over, but she figures they have enough grief of their own and tries to push it down, instead making her voice warmer. Thane's okay. He's safe. He loves you. She doesn't think they can touch her, but she offers her hands to them anyway.
They pull away from the offered touch. They seem to be somewhat comforted by your words, but they stay huddled in the corner.
She rests her hands on her knees, palms up, still offered but not outstretched. He told me about you, about how happy he was growing up and how much you let him get away with. She manages to smile, letting her fondness for him overflow into her voice. Whatever you did right. He's so damn clever and kind and just about the bravest person I've ever met. You'd be so proud of him.
They seem more comforted and their voices quiet, but they remain still, holding each other.
Is there anything I can do to help you? I know you must not feel very safe here anymore, and you must have been in pain, but that's over now. You're still together. Your son's okay, and he's with his friends. We're looking out for you.
They seem distracted a bit as you continue trying to focus with them. Their minds seem to be drifting away, maybe beyond this plane. You don't get the sense you'll be able to meaningfully converse with them.
She keeps talking anyway, but gives up on trying to ask them for anything. She just repeats that Thane loves them and misses them, and then to fill the silence starts telling some stories about him. Nothing big, nothing about their quest or smoke work, just dumb little stories about the two of them getting into trouble and having fun between missions. I think she'd ramble on for quite a while, though if they stay quiet and seem at least somewhat peaceful, she would eventually stop.
When you finish, you would find Orryn sitting outside the door with his back against the wall.
Before Dilue leaves, she promises to stop by again if she can. She slips out the door, closing it quickly and quietly behind her. She takes a couple steps past Orryn as if not seeing him, and then abruptly drops to her knees and starts crying uncontrollably.
Orryn walks up and puts a hand on Dilu's shoulder. He just stays there silent until she calms or lashes out, not knowing 100% which to expect.
She just kind of cries herself out and then sits there for a minute, scrubbing her eyes and looking like a hot mess. On the plus side, there was probably still blood on her face, and now there's less. You had some place you needed to go?
If it helps, whoever they are, they may not be dead, at least not all the way.
I think the part of them that's still here is the part that hurts. It might be better if they were at peace, but I guess that's not for me to say. She climbs to her feet, looking more tired than ever, but more composed. We should get on. We've got to get home.
No, but don't you see? If Epic is here, then I don't think this is the place where you go when you die. We aren't in hell, but someplace just next to the prime material plane. His voice is slowly transitioning from solemn reassurance to more mild excitement. He's no longer looking at Dilue, but seems to be going through things in his head as he starts to pace. The fact that we're here is a good thing. Well, not a good thing. Super sad, obviously, but that means that they were probably changed like Arena was. They were split, and the piece that was them is stuck here as long as the other part of them that was changed is in the prime material plane. That means that Vane... He stops, snapping out of his rant, and looks around hesitantly and then looks at Dilue. I could be way off, but if I'm right, that means that there's hope for them, for us, and I think I may know what game we're playing now.
Dilue screws up her face, not really following him. But Epic said we had other enemies here. I'm pretty sure we've just been killing people, no plantifying.
I don't know, maybe, but we've done some weird shit. We need more facts. Are you cool if I try some weird shit real quick?
She just kind of blinks at him. Go right ahead, as long as it don't involve the folks in that apartment.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. In fact, we should probably move a good ways away from them. And he starts walking down the road. Do you happen to have any water?
She takes out a water skin and passes it to him as they head away. There's not a lot in there, and it might be the only fresh water we have.
Nice. Okay, hold on to that for now. Orryn leads Dilue about half a mile away from the house and then turns around to face her. Okay, test number 1. Cut me. He holds out his hand, palm down.
With a knife?
Unless you have another way. I'm not a full Dilue stab, but yeah, draw a little blood.
I mean, I've got a few ways, but the knife's probably most efficient. She draws a dagger, giving him a look like he's slightly bonkers, and draws the tip over the back of his hand just hard enough to bleed.
We can skip to Jared's response because I ask if I lose hit points here.
I'm not going...
Don't worry about it.
The blade
Skip it
slice...
out.
Yeah, the blade slices across the back of your hand and hurts, just as you would expect it to. You begin bleeding as normal. Your hand stings and throbs. A normal cut as far as you can tell.
Happy now?
Ow, fuck. Okay, yeah, good. Stupidest thing out of the way first. That definitely hurt me, so we can probably die here. That means I need to be careful with test number 2. Do me a favor and walk 100 feet that way. And Orryn starts stretching. Time to test out wild magic in another plane.
Okay, try being careful by normal people standards and not by your own, Dilue says hypocritically, and takes a stroll down the street. She watches closely.
Orryn raises his hand in the air, scrunches his face, and looks away, then pauses, looks at Dilue. If I transform into something, make sure I don't die, and then casts Burning Hands in the air.
You feel the wild magic flow through your spell, but manifests in a way you've never seen before. As the flames erupt from your hands, they are accompanied by a piercing screech. You're pretty sure any skeletons or zombies in the area know where you are now.
Well, run, and Dilue takes off in a sprint towards Dilue. We gotta go, now!
You're telling me? She waits till he catches up with her, a weapon in each hand, and then turns and sprints away down the street.
On second thought, maybe I should have cast Comprehend Languages.
Yeah, what do you think it says about you that old Fire Hands was your best idea? Dilue was finding it a little harder to run and talk at the same time than usual, and her sprint probably isn't quite as fast as normal either.
Orryn is fine with this as his little legs try to keep up. Nothing new.
What was that?
You're pretty sure you tapped into what wild magic always taps into, the source of raw magic. That source is different on this plane. Same drink, different flavor.
As he's running, my spell junk is raw magic. Apparently magic doesn't all come from the same place, and here it's not great. And then, ask Jared if we're able to get to a safe place.
Yes, you got away from the source of the sound without getting spotted. You see some undead converge on where you had been, but you're safely down the street and away.
Okay, well, I guess we know that now. She leans against a wall to get her breath back, frustrated with her relative weakness. Any other experiments you want to try?
One more thing, and then if we're still alive, a place to check out. Let me know when you're good, because we may have to run again, or nothing will happen, or very unlikely, but possibly it will get us out of here.
She waves a hand at him irritably. Go on, I'll manage, especially if it means running home.
Orryn looks for an area where the ground is dirt.
Yes, there's a public garden nearby. Here, all the plants are withered and the ground is mostly dirt and mud.
All right, I'm going to do this, and we should have 1 minute to get out of the way and see if anything is going to happen.
Kylie gives a slow shake of her head and one of the few genuine smiles she's had over the last few days. What else is new?
Hand me the water. He bends down and digs a small hole in the dirt. He reaches into a small pouch he keeps on his belt and pulls out a single bean. He places it in the hole and covers it and pours some water over the top. Okay, we need to get at least 70 feet away. Run now. And he takes off, dragging Dilue by the hand.
He doesn't need to tell her twice. She bolts.
I apologize to Jared for all this bullshit that I'm pulling.
You make it a good distance away and turn just in time to see some twisted branches emerge from the ground where you planted the bean. The branches form a large nest big enough that the matching bird would be human-sized. From here, the nest nearby, the nest appears to be empty. I'm a little confused what happened.
I planted a seed and a nest sprouted from the ground.
Oh,
In a
okay.
tree, right? Or is it
What?
just a nest?
Just straight up.
Oh, it's
a
just
nest
a
on the
nest.
ground.
Yeah, branches form a large nest. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Kylie squints at it and then at Orryn. Was that one of the good options?
Let's go find out. Orryn slowly starts making his way towards the nest.
As you approach, you get a better look at the nest itself. The branches are dry and fragile. Inside, you see the remains of what appear to be broken eggshells.
This is a version of something that could have happened. Good to know. Ready to move on to the next place?
Sure. Yeah, I'm loving these ideas.
All right, onward. And I start leading us to the defense against the Fae. The defense against the in defense of the Fae guy's house, Kincaid's library.
Kylie walks along beside him. The brushes with danger have made her reach for Riffraff a couple times, only to remember that the sword is gone. She tries pinging Riffraff mentally again as they walk. Jared didn't answer this one specifically, but Riffraff did not answer.
Kincaid's Tower is much as Orryn remembers it. The walls are lined with tomes and scrolls. There's no lantern light here, and at least for now, no sign of the resident.
Excellent. The books are here. Okay, this guy was super into the Feywild. Maybe there's something in all this stuff that can give us some ideas about how this place works and if there's an escape hatch somewhere. Not that we're in the Feywild, but different planes and all that.
Tyler lights her hooded lantern, staring around at all the books with a mixture of awe and unease. I hope you're not expecting me to know what any of this does. I mean, I can flip through a couple things and look for anything that says how to get out of the ghost world.
Just help me look for keywords or titles that may be about extraplanar stuff in general. Hell, for all I know, this will be a... Hell, for all I know, these will all be blank and it's a dead end, but given that we know almost nothing, it can't get worse. And Orryn began searching through the tomes and scrolls for anything useful.
Tyler sets her lantern down on the nearest table and starts poking around. To be honest, she picks stuff up mostly at random because she's intimidated by it all and wondering, like, do magic books bite? Do they cast spells on you? Who knows? But she does join Orryn in searching for keywords.
If you see anything in a language you don't understand, put it in a pile over there and I'll try them later.
How long will you commit to this type of research? It could take weeks just to catalog Kincaid's library.
Assuming no interruptions, Orryn would try and do a cursory look for a few hours, trying to find anything that looked like it might be helpful.
Tyler will go for it as long as Orryn does.
Orryn's also trying to get a sense of any type of organizational system that would help in narrowing his search.
Well, it seems like a fine place to camp out.
Yeah, that too. Unless things look really helpless, this is at least a good place to regroup after looking, so he is in no hurry to leave. Also, I know we aren't rolling, but if there's any way to narratively fold in, I still have 3 unused luck points, so that is something.
Jared did not dignify that with a response.
He did not respond.
And since rest doesn't seem beneficial, we might as well just stare at a lot of books. Yep.
I think Orryn doesn't
I said
expect...
maybe
Oh, sorry.
I said maybe we spend a few days there.
Yeah, Orryn doesn't expect to have that much time, so he is really... he's trying to really make some progress up front rather than methodically going through every book. If we end up having days where it looks like that's going to be possible, then he doesn't have a next thing that he's racing to get to. Getting that ring for Epic is, at the moment, an absolute last resort. If he can find something about escaping this plane or destroying that ring, or even just new info on where they are, that's what he is trying for. Also, out of a want to find the ring... Out of a want to find the right thing and a curiosity of what will happen, Orryn casts guidance on himself while looking.
Okay, I think I get your strategy. After several hours of cursory examination, you got a sense of Kincaid's organization. He separates first-hand accounts, historical records, his personal research, and unconfirmed myths. Within each section, he organizes from macro, the very nature of Fey existence, to micro, Fey biology, with things like Fey society occupying the middle of each section. You don't feel closer to any real knowledge, and you're not sure that Kincaid devoted any shelf space to non-Fey subjects. You're getting pretty tired by now. It's probably been 12 hours since you left the compound this morning.
Orryn yawns and looks over to Dilue. Why don't you try and get some rest? I'll keep watch. Plus, I have a bit more reading to do.
Dilue is resting her face on a book already at this point, pretending to read text that's 1 inch from her nose. Yeah. She's a lot less jumpy than she was the previous night now that they're out of the estate, but still goes around and checks the exits, then finds a spot to settle in against a bookshelf, where she can see the doors and windows, and curls up in the same sort of defensive position.
Here, this should help. And Orryn casts Prestidigitation. The space Dilue is leaning against gets warmer and stays a comfortable temperature, and the scent of Star Anise's baking wafts past her for a moment.
The prestidigitation succeeds.
Dilue blinks and kind of curls up tighter for a second because the pang of longing she feels for baked goods and safety is a lot, but then sighs and uncoils a little. Thanks. That's nice.
Try to get some sleep when Orryn heads back over to the books.
She definitely has an easier time resting here, assuming nothing explodes in the night.
Seeing that it's all Fey stuff, he's going to shift tactics while Dilue sleeps. He's going to focus on the Fey anatomy section, specifically looking for Archfey and any book that looked like they would talk about significant Fey by name, specifically Echo. Anything he can find that would show physical or political weakness of Echoes within the Feywild, even tangentially. This may be the last time he has access to this library, and if worst case they have to leave by losing to Epic, he's going to try and get something useful to take with him.
When Dilue presumably takes a shift later, she'll probably try to read about the Feywild itself.
Knowing that this will potentially piss Dilue off, but doing it anyway, Orryn will make no effort to wake Dilue before a long rest, knowing it won't heal her, but hoping that while she is unconscious, she at least has some time away from the anxiety of here.
Or in which of the sections I described would you focus your research in search for the stench?
This is where I misunderstand what he presented to me, and I say Fey biology, and that's not an option.
There are 4 different Fey biology subsections, one each under first-hand accounts, historical records, Kincaid's personal research, unconfirmed myths.
They say, unconfirmed myths would be the one that he starts with.
Cool. One
And
more.
if at any time, sorry, go ahead.
You're good.
If at any time it would be applicable, he has plans for casting Copperhead languages, just as a heads up.
In 8 hours of dedicated reading in this section, you're unable to find anything on Echo. There's one interesting legend describing one powerful Fey by name. The Dancer was a Fey spirit of some kind who was unique in having been created without feet. They were obsessed as a result with cursing mortals to dance until they died of exhaustion. Kincaid had noted throughout the story the details of a Fey missing something symbolic from their biology, and has cross-referenced other accounts, a Fey born without eyes, without teeth, without hands, etc. At this point, Dilue wakes. Dilue, you wake as exhausted and wounded as you were when you fell asleep. You have no idea if you've slept for 10 minutes or 10 days.
Orryn asks if he is any more tired.
Yes, you're growing more weary, as you would expect to after that much work with no sleep.
She lifts her head and looks around blearily, wondering if something woke her. How long has it been?
Orryn puts his book down. About 8 hours, give or take.
Wow. She rubs her face. Didn't do much for me, if I'm being honest. You ought to get some rest, though. Is she less mentally tired, / is sleep doing anything on that front?
Sleep isn't doing anything to keep the mental exhaustion at bay.
Not sure it'll do much for me either. This place seems built out of pain and unrest, and I don't think there's anything we can do to find... This place seems to be built of pain and unrest, so I don't think there's anything we can do to find any while we're here. I just thought you deserved a break from it.
Well, you do too. She gets up and wanders over to the table. You found anything cool?
Maybe. Looking up stuff about here... I don't know what I meant to say. Maybe. Looking up stuff around here is a dead end, so I figured... I see. Maybe. Looking up stuff about here is a dead end, so I figured I'd find what I could about Echo while this library still exists in a form we can use. And Orryn describes the stuff mentioned above about the Dancer.
Dilue raises her eyebrows at the description of the Dancer. Cool, I hate it.
Yeah. Orryn yawns. There's something there, I'm not sure. There's something there, I'm just not sure what yet.
Well, we might not have a ton of energy left to spend on reading. I'm kind of worried about what happens when we just run out.
Yeah, it's time to start figuring out an exit strategy.
She sits down heavily. Yeah.
I have some ideas, but they're all terrible, and one involves my death. So I'd love to hear if you have any suggestions.
Kill Epic?
We can certainly try, though I don't like the odds with the state we're in and his apparent power in this place. I wonder if we could talk to Althen. Or I could plant 6 more seeds and see what happens. I shudder to think what I would pull out of the animal bag in this place.
I mean, I guess you might as well. The seeds, not the animals. It's worth a try talking to Althen. Maybe there's something we can do to use them against each other.
Yeah, that may be our best bet. Also, we haven't talked about it, but should we ask Epic about the weapons?
She rests her head on her hands, closing her eyes and trying to conserve strength, which isn't exactly something that comes naturally to her. I'm worried about giving him more information than he already has, and I don't want him anywhere near them.
He did say a gift must be given, not taken, but that's fair. What do you say we head to Althen?
She nods, but doesn't get up right away. Everything felt so clear on the ship. For a little while, anyway. I guess because Marinto was given the orders and I just had to follow them, but it felt like. She trails off. I just knew what I had to do, and if I died doing it, it would be for something.
Well, that hasn't changed at least. If we die here, it'll still be for something. Can I give you some advice as a new captain?
Yeah, you've already given me a lot, you know. Gods, I hope my ship ain't sunk. I think I figured out that you're not really supposed to ram them into things that are bigger than they are.
Orryn chuckles. Depends on what the thing is, I suppose, but personally, I think it's more important than any of the other things. Oh, but personally, it depends on the thing, I suppose. But personally, I think is more important than any of the other things you may have seen from me. I think it may be the thing that's kept me alive this long. If you're going to helm a ship, you need to know that you're not in control. Once you become okay with that, everything gets easier. If you learn to lean into the chaos, take it as it is, and flow with it, you can find these spaces where you can take control, even if it's just for a moment. The people that can find those spaces and weather the storms in between them, those are the ones that survive. Those are the ones that win. This place sucks, but I've seen you lead a crew through the chaos, and it wasn't because Marinto was giving you orders. We can beat this place.
She half smiles. I think I've been looking at it a little differently. First couple days I was captaining, I felt like I was trapped in it. I mean, it was exhilarating for like half a day. And then I realized I don't know what the hell you do if the ship flips over or whatever. And from that point on, it was just terrifying. And I wanted to give it up and I wanted to turn the ship around and I couldn't do any of that. So I just kept her sailing like I had no choice. And then I watched, she hesitates, swelling. I watched what G did when he took all those shots for the Orphan Throne, and all he was doing was holding on the course he'd always been on. But I realized the place he put himself in, the course he was on, it was all a choice he'd made. And I'd made mine too. I just tricked myself into it by thinking I had no other option. Because the idea of making that choice for the whole crew and Thane was horrifying. I mean, the choice to put them and my ship out in front. I didn't want to do that, but I did want to do what was right. And for once, I just did it. And I didn't try to run from it. Maybe I didn't have control over the sea, but I had a thing I could do, and I could choose to do it even if it meant the ship sunk and we went down with it. I felt like I did have control over something. Myself, maybe. She shakes her head and gets to her feet. And now I'm rambling because I'm tired. Let's get moving.
Orryn thinks for a moment and smiles. I like that. Let's go. And heads towards where Epic said Alphen was.
Ellie follows, knives out as usual. As they walk, she murmurs, "How's Epic pulling power from the King of Roads? Could we cut him off from it, or drain it from him somehow? Whatever we do, I don't want to give Althen an edge any more than Epic. But if we could tap that power too, or at least take it from him, maybe we'd have a shot."
That's a good point. And I asked Jared if it looks like any part of the gods or any part of the God of Road's corpse is reachable, or is it basically like actually the night sky?
I am taking over for Paul in case the rest of you did not see our message exchange. Anyway,
Thank you.
the corpse is strung up in the night sky, not physically reachable.
Tyler pauses and, on a whim, tries to reach out mentally to the King of Roads, figuring that maybe if they can talk to the other half-dead, she can reach him too. "Can you hear me?"
Orryn would do the same, but more trying to reach out to any energy that may be emanating from it, trying to fall back into how he meditated with Wave that time at the little temple.
All right.
Right. As you pause to focus on the remains of the slain god in the night sky, you both open yourself to its voice, louder than the other shadows you felt reaching out in this place. You very much get the feeling that there is an intelligence left somewhere in those remains, and the divine power of a god still flows through it, or the remains are a visible representation of the power, and the intelligence is how your mind interprets such a force of nature. Neither of you are really sure. The voice of the King of Roads is hoarse and weak. It whispers warnings, not to you, but they do each feel personally intended, caring and cautious. Go not by the north path from town. The wolves hunger tonight. Turn the sails to the trade winds. Put up the oars for a few hours. They need rest. This tree will offer no safety. Rest elsewhere.
Orrin asks if these feel like active messages being sent out or echoes, or if we can even tell.
I'm not sure Jared answered that. Oh, no, it is. He did. Later. Dilue looks very sad. In her mind, she says, I'm sorry. I don't know if you can hear me and if you'd have any kind words for us if you did, but what we did was a mistake. We thought we were protecting a friend and we let ourselves be used against you. If you can hear me, I want to help you be whole again. She leans against the nearest wall, remembering her exhaustion as she tries to imagine fighting for this god in her current state. I mean, whatever I can do, Your Majesty. And we briefly confirmed that Your Majesty is an appropriate honorific to use for a god king.
The warnings continue. It's impossible to tell if you're hearing new thoughts, answers to prayers, or memories or reflections of the god that was.
I ask if it feels like any part of that can be taken in. Epic mentioned the power pouring in, and that is what Orrin is really after, or is it just the voices?
You definitely feel power pouring out, but you feel like there's a barrier in yourself. You are a wall that cannot absorb it. It feels similar to the way the energy leaked out of your healing spell. The transfer is flowing in the wrong direction for you to tap into it.
It seems to me like Epic must be stuck on him like a tick somehow, stealing what's his. Maybe, if we can stop Epic, it'll give him the power he needs to come back. Even as she's saying it, she realizes she doesn't at all know how this works, but her determination is back.
I hope not. Either way, I think Epic isn't keeping him here. That tech analogy seems right. Unfortunately, I think the fact that I'm still alive is what's keeping me from being able to tap into it and healing us.
Tyler puzzles over that for a moment. Well, but that's still good, isn't it? If Epic can tap into his power because he's dead, at least partially, that means we can give that power back to the King of Roads?
Not necessarily. I think the God of Roads is dead when he got here. Epic is a thing feeding on carrion. But maybe.
Can you hear him? Dilue says. He's still here. He's still guiding people, or at least he's trying to. So maybe he can see out of this place. Her shoulders kind of slump. I didn't really think that was what gods did, she says quietly. I mean, I never felt like there was anyone looking out for me. But maybe I was wrong about that.
I can hear it. That doesn't mean he's in there. Orrin is still staring up at them. May just be echoes, past thoughts and energy. You've seen the ocean, there's no one to guide, no safety to be had. He made his choice. And it hurts me that it led him here, but it did.
He didn't do this, Orrin. She wraps her arms around herself, likewise gazing at the stars. We did. And if there's any chance we can undo it, we owe it to the world to try. And maybe he wasn't guiding us. Maybe he was guiding the fishing boats in, or getting the Morning Magnus safe to shore.
He did this. Orrin yells more at the sky than at you. We needed him. We needed help. And when we reached out, Orrin's voice catches in his throat and he turns to you, tears starting to form in his eyes. When we reached out, he attacked us. He wipes his tears away on his sleeve and swallows down to sadness. He chose his path. He chose to abandon us. And that led him here. That's not my fault.
Tyler definitely startles a little, having never seen an outburst of emotion like that from him. Orrin, her voice is a lot softer now. I didn't say it was your fault. I said it was ours. What we did was everyone's choice, but we didn't know what that choice meant, or the kind of power that was in our hands. We do now. And as for him, she looks upward again. I don't think he was right in the moment, but I didn't know he was holding the sky together either. Or I knew, but I didn't believe it until it came apart. So I don't know how I can judge him when I still don't understand what's at play. If he made a mistake, well, so did we.
Point is, maybe he deserved it.
Tyler looks at Scout and Hills and Almond.
Breathe.
The most dangerous snack. Tyler looks at Orryn strangely. For what? For wanting to kill the wrong person? For not listening to us?
I don't know. I'm just tired. Maybe we should just get going.
Probably so. She pauses a moment longer. I want you to think on something. You were the one who told me that I don't deserve to die for what I did in my worst days. But it's lucky for me we didn't meet back then. She pulls away from the wall and starts down the street. I ain't got a lot of room to judge most people. But fortunately, I do have room for Alphen.
Orryn doesn't respond, just turns and starts walking towards Alphen.
Dali walks beside him in silence, her mind still with the King of Roads, listening to him speak.
You walk an hour across the city to the tower Epic pointed out as Alphen's dwelling. As you approach, the shadows of the dead grow denser, and you're forced to focus on your path to avoid being seen. Here the Shades walk in patrols, not formal military formation, but improvised paths, relying mostly on heavy numbers to fill the streets and guard the compound. You can see the tower as part of a larger palace structure, one of the secure family estates in the city, likely belonging to one of the richer families, judging by the high walls and the expanse of wilted gardens.
Looks like you might be right about the shadows being folks who were turned into his creatures. Tyler would try climbing up on a nearby building to get a higher view. Are the patrols concentrated on the streets outside the compound/palace, or are they massing within as well? And do they all appear to be humanoid?
The patrols are mostly on the surrounding streets. They aren't manning the walls of the compound, and you don't see any within it. They appear humanoid, but slightly misshapen, and it's hard to focus your sight on one as they fade and shimmer. Orryn,
Sorry,
you're muted.
No, it wasn't that. I clicked away and then I forgot that my line was next. I apologize. Orryn just nods in agreement and starts following Dilue as she is far more adept at getting into a place like this.
If Dilue focuses on trying to hear the voices of the patrolling shadows, does she get anything different than usual?
No change to the emotions coming off these shadows.
Same as the rest. They're just people. I wonder if they can do anything to us at all in this place, but I ain't sure I want to find out the hard way. She tries two things, looking for a nearby building that's close enough to the walls of the compound that she could get her grappling hook over there and swing across, and tossing a pebble down a side street to see how the shades react.
The buildings are so close together in Kronos that it's easy to find a window from which you could grapple hook over the top of the compound wall. You toss a pebble down a side street, but the shades don't seem to pay it any mind. It's hard to tell if they didn't hear it or if they heard it but ignored the small sound.
At the risk of being literally Pippin in the Mines of Moria, Dilue searches for a bucket or something noisy and chucks it down, this time a bit farther away from where she and Orryn are crouched on the rooftop, prepare for things to be retconned immediately.
So I want to make sure that I get the details of this action correct. The two of you are standing in the window you've chosen for grappling, throwing something like a bucket as far away from you down the street as you can.
I was imagining them up on a rooftop, but yes.
Then I ask, is this before we grapple up?
Yes. Orryn.
Orryn sighs and braces himself to run. As she raises the bucket, why are we doing this again?
I just wanted to see if they're, here. She does hesitate, though. Like, I thought if they're patrolling out there in the real world, maybe they wouldn't react to a sound here. When I listened in, they just sounded like people.
Bucket? No bucket?
Orryn's not stopping Dilue, so it's her call.
I think Orryn's remark would make her pause long enough for doubt to creep in. I guess maybe the experiment ought to wait. I'm just worried about what happens when we try to leave. She lowers the bucket, though. I hope you're ready for a climb, Shortcake. And she chucks the grappling hook over the top of the wall. Can you hang on to me while I swing across?
Sure. He climbs onto her shoulders.
Hold on tight. If there's no dramatic reaction from the shadows below when the grappling hook flies across, she'll swing over and try to scramble up the wall. Question to Jared. If Dilue had taken any bleeding wounds from the big fight, are they still bleeding? Does blood clotting work here? Essentially, wondering if her wounds are just not healing or if they're getting worse over time, and if stuff like the impact of swinging into a stone wall would make that worse.
You've stopped actively bleeding. The swing will be a bit more painful due to your current state, but not dangerous. The two of you are able to swing across to the compound wall and scale up to the top. In the compound, it's a lot quieter. You see one main building ahead of the estate, which contains the tower at its center. You could go in across the rooftop of the estate to reach the tower, and then go in via a tower window, or you could drop down and enter from the first floor and ascend from the inside. Both appear to be safe paths from here.
Dilue crouches to let Orryn down from her shoulders, and also instinctively trying to rest even if it's futile. She looks a bit paler after that swing. I vote for the roof. Quicker way out if we need to go back over the wall.
Sounds good.
She draws a knife and leads the way across the rooftop, assisting Orryn if any more climbing is needed, and heading up to the nearest window. She'll crouch next to it and listen for any sounds on the other side first, then peer in if there's nothing.
Orryn is kind of just walking along beside Dilue as she sneaks from place to place, not overtly making noise or anything, but just matter-of-factly making its way to the window.
You make it slowly across the rooftop without being seen, at least not by anything that sounds alarm. There is a clinging sense of being exposed and watched, but that could be due to the lifeless eyes of the god hanging in the night sky. You reach the tower and make it inside through an old stone window. The interior of the tower houses a single room on each floor with a wide spiral staircase along the walls. This room is roughly 50 feet across and equally tall to the next floor. This room appears to be a storage attic, with old furniture and antiques stacked and covered by sheets. From here, the stairs go up and down.
Climb no higher, Dilue mutters. How far up are we already relative to the ground? That's not in character. How far up are we already relative to the ground floor?
You're at the base of the tower from the roof of the estate, so you would guess there are 2 normal floors below you. Judging by the height of the tower from the outside, if the floors above are like this one, there are 2 or 3 above you.
Orryn pulls off one of the sheets and starts rummaging around a bit. Might as well take a minute to see if there's anything useful or worth taking.
Dilue's side-eyes him a little. Go ahead, just keep it down. While he's looting, she's gonna try sneaking partway down the stairs leading down, casting Detect Thoughts and trying to listen for anything at all. She'd go as far as she can on the spiral stairs without being an open view of someone in the room below.
Rummaging quietly, you get the sense that you're looking at the discarded household decorations of a once wealthy family, but everything is in bad condition. Cushions smell of mildew, paint is thoroughly cracked from age. You find nothing that immediately seems useful to your situation or which has any value remaining in it. Dilue, you pick up no thought nearby. A small hatch blocks the stairway down. Opening it and peeking through, you can see a servant's work area, more crates of storage, an old cot, and the tools necessary for basic woodworking and home maintenance.
No.
Ah!
No,
Mercy,
Cat,
no!
Cat, please!
Mercy,
Cat,
no!
Mercy,
Mercy,
please!
took us on.
Mercy,
Not again,
please!
not again.
Mercy, have mercy.
Okay.
This is all trash. You see anything over there?
Ellie heads quietly back upstairs and tells Orryn, looks like up it is. Go slow and keep quiet. I'll give you a hand signal if I hear anything. She starts up the stairs. Same strategy, recasting Detect Thoughts if necessary, listening intently.
You don't hear any thoughts at first, but as you begin to climb the stairs up, you suddenly get a flood of thoughts. It's different from the shadow emotions on the street. Here you suddenly feel many voices thinking of battle, military action, and of regal duty.
Dilue stops and signals to Orryn, listening closely and trying to get more of their identities / what they're discussing.
Orryn nods and climbs up behind Dilue.
With a few minutes of focusing, you determine that there are 6 individuals above you. They are discussing an ongoing battle, calling out targets they can see from the tower above. You pick up thoughts of fear, excitement, danger, and fear for their loved ones.
Orryn puts a hand on Dilue's shoulder. Let me go first. If one of us is going to get hit, right now I can take more than you can.
Dilue quietly relays what she heard. She frowns at his words, clearly wanting to argue with them, but not being able to. She gives a tense nod. Be careful.
She sees Orryn slowly make his way in front of her, clearly exhausted. As he approaches the door, he takes a deep breath, straightens himself, and his face returns to the Orryn Dilue is used to. He winks. I always am, and opens the hatch.
Dilue waits with a dagger in each hand, one poised to throw if she needs to.
The next floor is clearly part of the same tower, but you're in a different time. There is sun shining outside the windows. The city beyond is much smaller and less developed than the Kronos you know. 6 soldiers are hurrying from window to window in the middle of a battle. 4 have bows and are firing arrows into the streets below. 1 is a commander of sorts, giving words of encouragement to the others. The last is a squire running arrows from baskets around the room to the 4 archers. These men and women look clean and noble, as if the battle has only recently reached their location. After a moment of observation, the commander spots the 2 of you. She barks, "Back to your quarters downstairs. The tower is off limits until the invaders are repelled. You'll be safe in your rooms."
My orders say we're needed upstairs, Commander, and we're to take any health potions you have with us.
Commander focuses their full attention on you. "Your orders? You're not in the watch. Get out of here before you get hurt."
Bit late for that, ma'am.
Orryn steps into the room. New recruits, fighting the good fight and all that. Have to defend the city, but you look busy, so we'll just move along up out of your hair. He tries to make his way towards the next level.
Oh my god.
Dilue takes out her crossbow as if to show, look, I belong here, I have a ranged weapon, and follows Orryn.
She quickly steps to block your path. The archers have noticed what's going on now. They're nodding to each other that you may be a threat. They pull back away from the windows so they can watch you. Commander makes a hand motion to the squire, and he looks out a window.
Dilue hastily puts her crossbow back where it came from.
Orryn puts his hands up and says, whoa, easy. We're on the same side, right, Dilue? And as he says Dilue, casts Healing Word on her to test if they're in a new place or the same. It only uses verbal components, so it shouldn't tip them that something is being cast, hopefully.
We confirm that that does not trigger wild magic because it's a cleric spell.
The healing spell is just as ineffective as before. Wherever you appear to be, it is truly where you were before.
And then I ask, can I tell from their dress what time period they appear to be from?
From their dress, they appear to have symbols of the Torchline, so it's at least after the establishment of the Alliance, but they appear centuries old from your guess. The commander speaks. "You're not one of mine. Right now, you're distracting from the defense of our city. If you're one of the master's idiot cousins, you still have time to get downstairs to safety. If you're not, then you're part of the attack, and we've got more than an arrow ready for each of you."
Hey, hi, ma'am, Dilue blurts out. We don't know where or when the hell we are. We were teleported here, and we didn't see much downstairs, so we came up. We don't know who you are or what you're fighting, but if you'll tell us that much, I will happily shoot at whoever you want in the meantime.
The commander takes half a step back, but remains between you and the stairs. "Teleported by what magic?" she asks with real fear. As if in response, the squire calls out, "Mage!" A fireball from the street below erupts into the room. The blast momentarily blinds you both, but the heat doesn't seem to affect you. The same can't be said for the 6 soldiers. You see them horrifically killed by the spell, leaving only scorch marks on the walls and floors. There is silence for a moment, and then the sun outside fades back into the night sky with the dead god. The city you know reappears. The room of the tower is the same as it was when the soldiers were here, but now shows centuries of wear. The stairs leading upwards are cracked and destroyed.
What the hell? What the hell?
Well, problem solved. And Orryn heads up to the next level.
Dilue hurries after him. Is it possible to ascend from here?
Or
You don't
hope so.
immediately You don't immediately see a way to safely climb the broken stairs leading upwards. Large sections are completely missing.
Orryn leads out over the broken stairs looking up. Maybe we should try down first.
Would Dilue have any better luck trying to get herself up and then tossing rope down to Orryn?
You could risk the jump in a few places. It's risky, but within your ability. As you take a moment to take stock of the risk on the stairs, you both hear the sounds of the soldiers speaking again. Now it sounds like they're making preparations. Terms like, "This is what we've been training for," are tossed about. The daylight begins to fade in again. In a moment, you're back in the soldiers' scene just as the battle begins. They haven't noticed you yet this time, and here the stairs are completely intact.
Dilue bolts up the stairs.
Problem solved again, it would seem. Orryn runs as well.
Your running draws their attention. You hear the commander yell, "Halt, intruders!" You see a hatch above you within reach, leading to the floor above.
Orryn continues running.
Dilue attempts to open the hatch without slowing much, and to hold it open for Orryn with the intention of shutting it behind him.
The hatch sticks for a moment when you reach it, causing you both to pause for a moment before you can proceed. You hear the soldier below shouting and the snap of bowstrings.
Fuck.
You manage to push the hatch open and tumble into the floor above. This is the top floor of the tower. You immediately plunge back into the darkness of this place. The shouting below you is silent. It takes you a moment to find the arrow, made from rotten wood, stuck in Orryn's leg.
God damn it. Orryn limps his way after Dilue.
Fuck. Dilue grabs his arm to stop him from walking further. Sit down. Let me bandage that.
Orryn reaches down and breaks one end of the old arrow off and pulls the other side through. Fine, but make it quick. We have to keep going.
The arrow snaps easily, but leaves splinters in your leg from the rotten wood.
Orryn looks around to see where they are.
Dilue is grimacing hardcore, but picks out as much of the splintered wood as she can see, then bandages his leg with her healer's kit. "See why I don't stand behind you?" she mutters.
As you pause to clean the wound and apply the bandage, the two of you have a moment to take in the space. It is set up like a study, one long table covered in papers, a single wooden chair pulled up to it. There are bookshelves and a sofa, but like so much of what you've seen here, everything is worn away. The papers are on the verge of crumbling to dust. The furniture is moth-bitten and damp. Somewhere in the room, you hear footsteps, but you can neither see their source, nor can you imagine where anyone might hide.
Dilue tries to listen in mentally the way she has with the shadows outside.
Orryn moves over to see if there's anything to learn from the papers.
The ink is faded from most of the pages, but you see enough to know they're describing the Roden you left behind. There are accounts of Kronos overrun by plant life, the people killed by this awful event. There are mentions of Dawn Mitchell, the Fredericksburg noble family, and the Council of Sussex, but you don't have enough to piece together the context. Dilue, as you reach out with your spell, you don't detect a full thought or emotion or intelligence, but you do feel like there is a thread running through this room, a thought unraveled and pulled taut.
With the feeling that she might be doing something fairly dumb, she tries to reach out to it mentally. Hello?
No answer.
Orryn relays what he sees on the table.
It was worth a try, Dilue mumbles, mostly to herself. And wait, is this what it looks like now, in the real world, I mean? She looks around. Has it been long enough for the contents of the tower to deteriorate like this, or does it seem like those documents in the rest of the room are from different times?
There hasn't been enough time passed for the documents to be written since you left and then deteriorate this much. Not naturally, anyway.
Well, then Dilue continues to look freaked out. She describes the sense she got of the thread of thought in this room, struggling to describe it. I don't know. Do you feel anything magical?
I ask if I can make anything out from that description.
Not anything physical, and it doesn't sound like magic you're familiar with.
Is it possible to figure out where the sound of the footsteps is coming from, or trace their path?
To your previous question, no more than usual, although I think I may be on the right path.
You can follow the footsteps for sure. It takes some time, but they're absolutely in the room with you. They're pacing regularly around the table, stopping, pacing, stopping. Occasionally, they go to a window and stop a while before returning to the large table.
Dilue pauses to look at the view with them being the person with the footsteps, glancing at uneasily at Orryn. The path to Alphen?
This is where Devin misunderstands kind of the spatial description of the room, but so Orryn says to something, and he makes his way back to the door down. Get ready to run.
Just a minute. Dilue makes a last circuit of the room. feeling kind of foolish, but also wanting to puzzle out these footsteps. She sits in the desk chair, pokes around the bookshelves and sofa, and sifts through the crumbling papers on the table.
Fair enough. No stone unturned. And he goes and looks for more details around the books on the shelves.
Dilue, as you trace the steps of the sound, for a split second you feel something cold on your hand. But it passes quickly. It was a physical sensation of a cold pressure, not like a chill. Orryn, among the books on the shelves, you notice a book on Fey myths.
Orryn pulls it out carefully.
Dilue tries following the footsteps as closely as she can, trying to step where they step and stand in the same place to see if she feels the same cold sensation when they overlap.
You do begin to feel the cold sensation appear more and more. It's not steady yet, but you're getting closer. Orryn, the book is titled The Collected Stories of the Wayward Prince. You successfully pull it from the shelf, but you can already tell this copy is in bad shape. The pages are torn and the binding barely holds together.
Orryn, if he looks over, he'll see her probably looking pretty odd as she tries to sync up her movements with those of an unseen person. I can feel them.
Keep doing whatever that is. I'm going to need a bit. Orryn sits down and starts reading through the book.
Does it seem like they're around the same size/height as her? Because she has kind of a bad nagging feeling about who this could be, but also literally no other ideas, and at least footwork is a thing she can do.
You get the sense that they might be a bit shorter and stockier than you. When you get the cold feeling, it is in your left hand where you first felt it, but there is a full body feeling of alignment with the owner of the footsteps.
Orryn, this time she sounds more nervous. I think, and as she's speaking, she snatches at the cold pressure, trying to close her hand around it.
He asks, not looking up from his book.
The book's pages are incomplete and heavily faded, so you're not getting the full story, but it's clear there are several stories in this volume of mortals given gifts by Fae and what happened to them. In some stories, the mortals are destroyed by the gifts, led to their deaths or lives of unhappiness, but in some of the stories, the mortals turn the tables on the Fae and defeat them. Dilue, you can feel the small metal object inside your hand, but the footsteps continue and pull it away from you. It may not be enough to grasp it, but you feel like you're on the right track.
I just have to throw out a small meta note here that I am such a dingus that when Jared described this mortals being given gifts by Fae that destroy them, I was like, ha! That's right, Alphen. I bet you regret shutting up with Echo now. And it was like a day later that I was like, oh no, oh damn. Anyway, I am done.
Oh, I'm the one that's supposed to feel regret. Oh.
Anyway, Dilue continues following the footsteps, looking like she's thinking a lot harder than she likes to. The next time her fingers brush the metal object, she tries reaching out to it mentally, trying to form a better grip on it.
Orryn looks up. What is it?
He would see Dilue now with her eyes closed and a look of intense concentration on her face, grabbing at the air. Her approximate idea is that if she can maybe draw the object further into this plane by reaching out to it, she'll be able to grab it.
He puts the book down and makes his way over to her, not interrupting, but just following her movements.
In her mind, she tries speaking to it as she reaches out. Epic.
You could feel the power of your amulet, the thread of Epic's consciousness. It is tethered to the object you're trying to grab. It takes quite a few tries and frustration, but you are eventually able to pinpoint the object and tug at it, just barely, with your mind. You grasp at it with your hands again, and this time you're able to exert force. You're pulling on the ring. The footsteps stop, and you can feel the hidden figure pulling back against you.
Orryn! She sets her feet and tries to grasp the ring with both hands, focusing on it as hard as she can as she pulls on it. Read its mind! Read its mind and grab it!
Orryn grabs onto where Dilue is holding and helps pull. Read its mind? Alphonse?
No, read the ring's mind! Detect thoughts! She keeps her eyes shut, trying to maintain her concentration.
Are you sure? Last time the spell screamed. There's no telling what could happen this time.
Oh, ain't that like your whole thing? Just do it.
Fuck. Fine, but if I turn into a demon goat, it's on you. And Orryn casts Detect Thoughts centered on Dilue's hand.
Dilue braces
Or,
herself.
or he prepares, Orryn prepares to cast Detect Thoughts centered on Dilue's hand.
Dilue braces herself for demonic screaming and or to have a goat for a friend and keeps yanking on the ring.
And we can scroll down past to below that Jared thing, because that's me trying to put in the prepares to and not actually does, because he's really worried about it.
Yep. I think this is actually where...
He would try and just help. Orryn's trying to just help pull first before casting the spell.
Okay. With the two of you pulling, you can move the object against the force pulling back against it, but you can't get it completely. It feels like it's hooked on the shadow figure. You're stronger than they are, but no closer to freeing the object.
Orryn swears under his breath and casts Detect Thoughts on the ring to try and pull it through to this plane.
Your wild magic triggers, and a wave of cold air blows through the room. Trapped in the tower, it swirls, and the wind knocks you both down. You land on the floor, chattering your teeth against the sudden chill. The footsteps are silent. Dilue, in your hand, you are holding a ring of mind shielding.
Dilue holds out the ring to Orryn, looking a little wild-eyed but pleased with herself. I got it.
He did it. Can I see that? He holds out his hand.
She drops it into his hand, cracking a genuine, slightly feral grin.
Orryn puts it on his finger. He smells back. I have a plan.
I would just like to the record to show that at this moment, it is a cold day in hell, and Dilue has solved the puzzle.
Hell yeah.
We can also skip this part because we ended up having to retcon it because attunement works differently than we thought.
It was very
Aw.
funny, but yes. Okay.
Right here, Orryn sits and attunes to the ring for a little while, and as it succeeds, he lets out a long breath of relief. It worked.
Actually, I think, yeah, here we go.
Oh.
Well, the attunement of that worked. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I think everything else is us not understanding how attunement works. Yep, there we go. Yes, and then Dilue asked, is Epic still in there?
I haven't tried yet. I figure we should talk first.
Yeah, we probably should. Well, he hasn't come storming in here to demand the ring yet immediately, so that's one thing I was worried about out of the way.
Same.
It could be Althen has too much power here, or maybe his power doesn't extend that far outside the estate.
Maybe, or he's just waiting.
Dilue shrugs. It could be. Until proven otherwise, at least this might be one of the safer places we can be. At least unless Althen decides to come over. She knocks her shoulder against his. You said you had a plan?
Orryn asks if he's remembering correctly, if the person wearing the ring dies, any soul inside of it shunted out and they take its place. And
Correct.
Yeah. Well, for now anyways, there's not much Epic can do. As long as I'm attuned to the ring, if I die, he goes away and I would take his place. So if he hurts me, he loses, and if he hurts you, I can kill myself and take his place.
Dilue blinks. That's a hell of a backup plan, but I guess it's better than nothing. I'd worry he might come up with a smart way to, take it off your hand before he kills you.
He can try, but he'll be sadly mistaken. Orryn puts one of his invisible rings one of his invisible gloves over the hand with the ring. There's at least one more level of protection. It's stupid, but it would give me time to react.
If only there were people other than us here who could die to kill Epic, Dilue says. It'd be a really convenient way to get rid of him. She sighs and starts drumming her fingers on her knee. Okay, we have a little leverage, but we also have a liability, which is that if he does get his hands on that ring, we have fucked everything up even more, and also we are dead. So we need to either figure a way out of here or get rid of Epic. What do we know?
I'm hoping that he'll take an opportunity to escape later over a for sure loss now. Send us back with 4 Warforged and hope you get a shot at the ring later, or I kill myself and then I become the deity of the half-dead or whatever you're trying to do here.
Dilue gives a slow, tentative nod. It could be. I'm worried he's got more up his sleeve. Otherwise, it was a hell of a risk for him to send us after the ring, knowing he'd be giving us a way to kill him. Let's see. He has the Warforged somewhere. He's powerful, but we don't know exactly how powerful or if he's limited in any way. He's draining power from the King of Roads, but we don't know how he's doing that either, or if we could reverse it. She stares at the floor for a minute, her eyes glazing over. God, I'm tired. Okay, we've got to kill Epic, or take his power from him, or find a way out of here. One of those three.
I tried to tap into the power he's siphoning, take some of it for myself, but I'm not the right kind of thing. I think it has to do with the fact that he is dead, but also all here, not one of those half things. Not that that helps us at all. Do you think there's any chance of finding Wave or Riffraff here? Or their spirits, in the same way Alton was, just present because of its power? Most of me hopes they just got left behind, but I don't know.
I don't know either. Even when Riffraff's pissed at me, she usually answers when I reach out, if she can hear me. Not that Riffraff has ever been pissed at me, she mumbles. We get along really great.
Orryn lets out a deep and smiles. Trouble in paradise? Let me guess. Your talking weapon gave you some big condition in order to keep using them.
Dilue grimaces at the floor. Well, I put her in a box because she wanted me to agree to go fight the next ship we saw no matter what, and because she was talking about killing Fox. And then I left her in the box because she wanted me to agree to kill Thane if she ever thought he was betraying us. It was an eventful week on our side of the formation. There's some kind of bad blood between her and Trespasser. She's convinced that whoever you're closest to, that's the person who always screws you over in the end.
Orryn stares into the middle distance a bit. Well, that definitely can't happen. He snaps back into it. I wouldn't worry about it too much yet, though. Wade once tried to get me to massacre a whole town of Silverclaim if I didn't convert them all to follow the God of Rhodes. The key is patience. Hell, maybe use your friendship with Thane to show that things aren't always bad.
Oh.
Teach over time, or or make them watch you help kill their patron. That seemed to work too. But before that, I was really getting through to them.
I can't decide if that makes me feel better or if that's just incredibly fucked up, Orryn.
Orryn puts his hand on her shoulder. Probably both.
Well, if we find them again, you can give me all your notes on how the hell you teach something that's 1,000 years older than you and madder than a hornet. She gives a hefty sigh. I miss her. Not least because I think she'd be pretty keen to tear through Epic.
Well, let's get you back to her then. And Orryn uses Dilue's shoulder to heft himself up, stumbling on his damaged leg. But first, I want to make a pit stop at that library, if that's okay. There's something in those books that's been tugging at my brain.
We can certainly make a pit stop, given that I don't recall us coming up with a good plan at any point in this conversation. Dilue takes a critical look at his leg. I think we should check downstairs before we go, but maybe you ought to stay up on the roof while I look around.
That's a good point, on both counts. Although if I die now, at least we know what happens.
Oh, shut up. She heads downstairs, waiting for the stairwell to appear. Let's try pretending to be idiot cousins this time. Might get us across the room without being shot at.
As you descend the stairs, you see the same scene play out as the soldiers fade into existence. They prepare each other for the battle that you know will break out in just a moment, using the same words they did before. It's an identical performance. You're above them on the stairs and currently unseen.
Dilue takes a quick moment to conceal her weapons, then adopts an aloof, wide-eyed look and strolls vaguely down the stairs. Oh, how do you do? She says upon seeing the commander. I don't suppose you could point us the right way to the shelter? Someone told us to head downstairs, but my manservant and I must have got turned around.
Orryn stifles a chuckle to himself behind her. He's ready to pull her back through the hatch if things start to sound bad.
One of the archers rolls his eyes. The commander barks at you both. How long have you idiots been up there? Got turned around? In a tower? Kings help me, this family. Get downstairs now. It isn't safe here.
Dilue throws her a look of deep offense. Anyone can pick the wrong place to have a nap, she says huffily, and then snaps over her shoulder. Come along, Orryn. Apparently we aren't welcome here. She would sweep across the room without looking at the soldiers.
Yes, ma'am, and he limps along behind her.
They watch you to make sure you leave, and you hear some snickering. As you cross the threshold to the floor below, their voices fade away again. You're back in the storage room.
Dilue's plan is to leave Orryn at the window to the roof so he can rest the leg, then head down through the servants' work area below to see if she can get to the next floor.
Make sure you grab any Make sure you grab anything that looks worth taking and let me know if you find any books.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye out for any fancy jewelry.
I was thinking more helpful items, but sure, grab treasure too.
I get it, Orryn. You want the earrings and the necklaces. She heads down, not expecting to find much on this floor.
If you don't encounter any trouble, how much of the estate would you search?
Orryn sets himself in the window frame and leans his head back and closes his eyes. Gotta keep me looking good, Dilue.
I want to take at least a cursory look around the floors below and try to find if there's a library, study, and/or family rooms that might have belonged to the original owners of this place. If she runs into anything particularly wild, she would look more closely, but otherwise she only plans to search closely if she finds one of the above.
It takes you about 2 hours to canvass the estate. It has dozens of rooms and appears to have a functional seat of minor power. Appears to have been, oh my goodness. It has dozens of rooms and appears to have been a functional seat of minor power at some point. There are multiple bedrooms, servants' quarters, meeting rooms, and 2 full kitchens. The estate now, however, appears to be frozen in the process of being closed down. The items that indicate daily life have all been packed away, and much of the furniture has been pushed into stacks. There are small packing crates in most rooms, and everything has a heavy layer of dust. You do find some family paintings with inscriptions on the floor leaning against the wall in a downstairs hallway. The writing indicates that the figures depicted in the paintings are mostly members of the Arcady family. They're dwarves, and you know from their family business that they're still a wealthy you know from your family business that they're still a wealthy family with some influence in Roden. You don't come across any other visions, creatures, or shadows in your search.
Dilue heads back upstairs and reports back to Orryn. Nothing much, but it might be worth looking into the Arcady family later to see if there's a reason Alfred chose this place. Back over the wall.
Sounds good. And he hefts himself over to the roof.
Dilue would try to get them out pretty much the same way they came in, grappling onto a nearby building and swinging over to a rooftop or window.
You make it with just a little extra effort due to Orryn's leg. You're back outside the compound.
Orryn starts leading us back to Kincaid's library.
You arrive there safely. Chronology update. At this point, you feel it has been about 2.5 days since you woke up in this place, but your minds are starting to get a little foggy from the lack of good rest.
As soon as they enter the library, Dilue takes a seat near the window, intending to keep an eye on the street outside while Orryn looks at whatever he's investigating.
Devin asked how long it would take for Orryn to take the info that he learned in the unconfirmed myth section and try to cross-reference it with Kincaid's personal research.
Perhaps a full day of research? It's a bit of a needle/haystack problem.
And trying to get more oof, and that's with Dilue helping.
Yes.
And then I asked when you said he had cross-referenced in the story I read to other instances of that happening, was that reference to other unconfirmed myths or something else?
His notes cross-reference any kind of sources, so when you followed the notes before, they led you to biology, history, every part of his research. He is thorough.
Gotcha. And Orryn says, I don't know how much longer we can keep this up, but I also don't know the next time we'll have access to information like this. What do you think we should do? Face Epic now with what energy we have, or try to get more info and hope for the best when we face them? And then also, Jared question, did sleeping at least pause Dilue from getting more tired? Like while she slept and I kept working, did I get more tired while she just didn't get any less tired, or was it the same as if we were both staying up for 8 hours?
I think we need more before we face Epic, but what are you looking for?
Anything, Echo. This place isn't going to help us with Epic. It's devoted solely to the Fae, but outside of this plane, the library is in Plant Kronos, and who knows what state. This guy devoted his life to the Fae, and I feel like we can make it out of here with... And I feel like if we can make it out of here, there might be valuable knowledge hidden in here that we can take with us, but it's not a sure thing.
So neither of you are as tired as you should be after staying up for 2.5 days. You're not going delirious. It's hard for you to say if you feel more or less rested than than the other after all you've been through.
I don't think we can afford this, Orryn, before we deal with Epic. Maybe we can come back after, but if he kills us here, we're not taking anything home anyway.
I honestly don't think this is going to end with Epic dead. I think our best case scenario is we leverage this ring to get us to send him home. When we go to Epic, we should expect to leave this place. But if that doesn't change anything, we can go now.
Tyler perches on the windowsill. If we walk into that estate without a hell of a plan for how we're going to intimidate him and to keep him from just ripping the ring off your finger, I don't think we walk out again. I don't want best case scenario. I want to know what we do in the worst case.
I've got worst case covered. He reaches out a hand. Give me a dagger.
Tyler meets his eyes, dead serious. Much as I hate to say it, she says, you killing yourself isn't the worst case scenario. The worst case is if Epic takes the ring from you and then kills us both. If that happens, the only thing we've done here is help one of our enemies become a god. Not only that, but if by some miracle the others were to track us here, they'd been walking in blind to fight him. If we die without stopping him, they get no warning, no information, nothing. That's to say nothing of what he could do to the world with the kind of power the King of Rhodes had.
Or what I could. Listen, don't get me wrong. I do not want to die here, but I'm glad we're on the same page at least.
I don't want to die here either, she says, and there's a flash of suppressed terror in her face. But if I'm going to, I won't have the last thing I do destroy what's left of the Frost Daggers.
We still need a plan A. Should we... He pauses, looking down at his ring, and then slowly back to Dilue. Should we try to reason with him? Hope he goes for the deal?
No, I think the only thing we'd lose from talking to him with the ring instead of by strolling into his compound is the element of surprise. And to be honest, I don't think he'd be all that surprised to see us, especially if he can read minds. And he did, send us to get the ring. As she's talking, she unbuckles a concealed dagger in a scabbard from somewhere on her torso and slides it over to him. Which brings me to my next point. Under no circumstances should we walk into that compound.
Orryn takes the dagger and slides it in his own belt. Maybe even now. And he quickly darts his eyes to the ring and back, trying to get Dilue's attention with eye contact. But who knows what the distance is on his ability to hear us. If we aren't going in there, where should we try and face him?
Tyler raises one eyebrow. Are you starting to understand why me and Thane... Never mind.
Yep.
So close. I don't know where we
God,
want
that was the moment I thought you had it. I really did. I was like, cool, we're good from here on.
It's fine. I don't know where we want to face him, but at the very least, I think we lose nothing and might very well gain something from forcing him out in the open.
I can try and talk to him now through the ring, see where he stands on things.
Now, what's our official position? She asks. Might be best to hold off on threats for now. Ask for reassurance that he'll hold up his end of the bargain. Why we should trust him. How he plans to release the prisoners to us.
I think that's our safest route out of here if possible. Just see what his expectations are. At least then we know where he's starting. At least then we know where we're starting.
She nods. We need more information. You could ask him whether he has any ambitions to rule as a god in our plane. Not so much to ask him about that, but to see if you can get him to say anything about what he's doing to the King of Rhodes and what he can do with that power. She considers. And ask him if there's any need to fear Althen coming to this plane.
He nods along as you list that out. All right, here goes. Orryn concentrates on the ring. Epic?
Eva listens, but turns so she can see both him and the window, watching the street in case anything approaches. She has one hand on the hilt of her dagger, the other hand holding her crossbow.
Orryn also has the hand with the ring on the hilt of his dagger.
Epic answers promptly.
Oh, good. The ring is in your possession. Back together like old times. You may be my most reliable partner in the end. Of all this.
Frost Daggers are the most reliable partners to their worst enemies. News at 11.
Yes, well, I do try. So, seeing as we have gathered this, I believe it is time for some questions to be answered. I'd be have this conversation out loud so Dilute can hear.
Oh, please return to the estate where we can have this conversation in person. It's much more comfortable that way. I'll happily answer your questions. Providing information was part of our deal, after all.
I'm sure it would be, but I'm quite comfortable here and require some answers now. Why don't you meet us outside the estate?
You get the feeling that Epic is rolling his eyes.
A tip for negotiation. Don't push your luck with an agreeable adversary, or you may find yourself getting less than you already had on the table. I promised you 3 things in return for the ring: answers to your questions, the 4 Warforged prisoners, who I gathered at great personal expense, and passage for the 6 of you back to the prime material plane. I'll answer 1 question now as a sign of good faith, and then I will ask you to return to me to continue our transaction.
Orryn looks at Dilute. You won't leave the estate, and we'll answer 1 question now. What do we ask?
We clarified that it is in fact 3 prisoners and passage for the 5 of us. And then Dilute raises her eyebrows in mock surprise. Gee, I wonder if there's a reason he won't leave the estate. 1 question, huh?
For now.
Dilute sits there thinking for a minute. We could ask him about what means he'd be returning us to the prime material plane. What kind of magic, I mean, what it entails. She taps her fingers on the hilt of her dagger. But I think we should press him on leaving the estate. Tell him we have trust issues, for good reason. Why should we take him at his word that he'll honor his end of the bargain if he won't even meet us on neutral ground? He hasn't even shown us the prisoners. For all we know, they're dead. Or they will be, as soon as we give him the ring.
Okay, so I'll ask him why he won't leave the estate then?
I wouldn't make that our 1 question. He owes us that information.
Fortunately, at this point in negotiations, it doesn't seem like he owes us anything. He doesn't seem to think he owes us anything. But I can press on it if we get both. Do you have an idea for the 2nd question?
Dilute half smirks. Her demeanor is shifting towards a mode she hasn't had to adopt in a while. Colder and calmer, at least externally. Well, either he's wrong about that, or he has more on us than we know. But he could well be bluffing. I'd say press him, but without threatening. This is just us trying to guarantee that we don't get screwed over by someone we've got a pretty bad history with. If he'll answer the question, my vote would be to get more information on how we could leave. Could we we get a lead on something we could research here?
Orryn nods and focuses back on Epic. How about 1 explanation and 1 question? We've been through quite a lot to get this ring, and it unlocks far more for you than for us, so as friends, as reliable partners, how does that sound?
He thinks briefly.
I cannot budge from my proposal. Allowing you 1 question here was already a concession. If you ask for more every time I make an offer, I have no reason to be as agreeable as I have been.
He's being stubborn, but on the bright side, he seems very aware that this is a negotiation. Back to Epic. Fine. Why won't you leave the estate?
Epic muses.
1 question, and you waste it on something you must already know. Because I choose not to, my dear Orryn. Because it is my seat of power. Because I hold enough cards to sit comfortably, while you risk life and limb just to earn your escape. Because you've given me no reason to. There's no trap because you are already trapped here. There is no secret weakness for you to discover because I'm already dead. Now come and join me, and you can ask some questions that really matter.
Orryn relays all that to Dilute. So it seems he could leave if he wanted to. Do we twist the screws here or go and face him?
He says he could leave, Tyler retorts. He hasn't actually done it yet. Tell him he's given us no damn reason to trust him.
I think we may have to face this one head on, Dilute. I think we have cards to play, but we don't have the leverage from this room. I think we get more from a cordial Epic than an angry or scared one.
Tyler purses her lips, clearly growing impatient. He's not gonna be cordial when you threaten his life, Orryn, no matter what. We don't have any cards to play in person that we can't play from a distance. The only thing we'd be doing by walking into that compound is giving him even more power over us than he already has. You don't face an enemy head on when they could crush you like a bug.
This is where Orryn misinterprets Dilue's tone. Too epic. I have a question that matters. What if I die, Epic? What would happen then? You're dead, yes, but this place seems custom tailored for a specific type of dead thing. What if that no longer meant you, and you were sent to wherever dead things go? Do you think it would be somewhere nice? You've known me long enough to know I'm nothing if not impulsive and spiteful. I'd be trapped here, sure, but I'd have the ring. And you've made it very clear that under the right conditions, a person can set up quite the opportunity for themselves. There would be the added bonus that you'd be gone. So maybe we should stop pretending that this discussion is completely one-sided and treat each other with the respect that each of our bargaining power deserves.
Your speech is met with silence. Epic does not respond.
Well, Dilue, he's staying quiet. I think we have two options. Go and face him, or try and wait it out until I am close enough to death that he knows I'm not bluffing. Unless you can offer something less shitty.
Dilue lets out a slow breath. What did I say about no threats? Never mind.
Well, he wasn't responding to conversation at all. In his head, he had all the cards and zero reason to give any ground at all.
Dilue looks like she wants to give some extremely Dilue-style constructive criticism, but bites it back. Doesn't matter now. Cards on the table and he doesn't like it. That doesn't mean he can't still hear us or that there's no more negotiation to be had. This is hilarious because when she by hear us, she did not mean what Orryn means when he, anyway. Yes, Dilue still has not figured this out at this point. Because if he knows you're willing to die to get rid of him, he's either going to have to come after us or talk.
Orryn holds up a hand to Dilue and says to Epic, I want this to be as friendly as possible, Epic, but I also want you to know that I know what I have. We each need something from each other, so when you're ready to talk, we'll be here. Orryn gives Dilue a shrugging look like, better?
Better, she drawls.
This is all happening from Kincaid's, right?
Yes. Orryn walks back over to the books and begins looking through Kincaid's personal research notes to find anything about Echo or anything that builds on what he found previously. Might as well do something while we wait.
Ellie was still watching the street outside. As for what we do if he decides to stay a brick wall about this, here is my angle. If we can't figure out a way to force him to agree to our terms, we can't risk confronting him. We already have a way to kill him. If we can't get out with our lives, best thing we can do is make sure he dies too. She spares Orryn a sharp look. Stay on your guard, Orryn. You just threatened his life. You don't know he's going to take that sitting down.
Orryn doesn't look up from his book. What's he gonna do? Kill me? But he does keep sharp attention on the ring at all times.
If he were looking, he would see Dilue visibly restrain herself from snapping, keeping her eyes fixed on the window with an effort. Unless that book is entitled, How to Kill the Demigod You Just Pissed Off, you better put it the hell down.
Orryn is still looking through books. Calm down, Dilue. There's only a few ways this is going to go our way, and none of them involve you losing your cool. Right now, all we can do is wait. Orryn sounds very relaxed and calmly sorting through the library.
Wait for what? For you to get a grip? Her voice is biting, but strained.
For Epic to respond. In the meantime, I refuse to waste this resource while we have it. If you have something more pressing to do somewhere else, then by all means lead the way, but until then, I will not waste a second in this place.
We both have more pressing things to do than try to stuff our heads with fairy stories that don't mean shit if we die here.
Such as?
Like, plan for what to do if he attacks us? Has it ever occurred to you that sometimes throwing up your hands and saying you have no control over anything and trying to chaos your way out of it or whatever is going to screw you over?
Orryn sighs, closes his book, and looks up at Dilue. All right. What would you like to do if he attacks us?
First of all, if your whole plan to survive this is to be ready to stab yourself, you had better have that knife in your hand and aimed at your heart. Secondly, is this where we want to fight if we need to? I still think if Epic couldn't go for the ring himself, we might be safer at Alfred's Tower. Thirdly, can he tell where that thing is? She points at the ring. If he can, or even if he can't, we shouldn't stay in one place.
Firstly, he puts the dagger in front of him on the table so it's more easily accessible. I realized halfway through the Epic conversation that I could just set myself on fire, but fine. Second, I don't think Alfred's Tower had anything to do with why he couldn't get the ring. He has zero reason to complete this deal if he could just kill us and take it from us, or magic it off my hand. And thirdly, even if he could leave the estate, which I'm starting to feel like he may not be able to for some reason, we can't hide from him in this place. He knows what's going on around the ring, and he knows this place in general, so we may as well hole up in the place that affords us the most valuable thing that we can do to escape. If we only leave with our lives, then this has been for nothing. We will have to defeat Echo, and we still have no idea how to do that. Maybe Epic can share some information on it, but maybe he can't or won't. I know it's more dangerous. I know we could just hide from him and hope he can't find us, I know it's more dangerous. I know we could just hide from him and hope he can't find us, and I know it could lead to nothing and just waste time, but I also know that our friends are fighting to figure this out at home, and if we can help them, we have to. If your only pushback to being here is that we could be hiding better elsewhere, then I'm sorry, but I disagree. Orryn starts looking for some paper and ink as he continues the conversation with Dilue.
Us escaping with our lives isn't nothing, Dilue says, her voice flat. Sometimes you don't get to play to win. Sometimes you just play to keep playing. And even so, you're wrong. We'd be leaving with a lot of information we didn't have before. We get out of here alive. The only thing we need to do to kill Epic is stick that ring on the hands of one of our fleet prisoners before we execute them. We'd know where to come to find this information if we ever manage to find our way back. And we'd know what happened to the King of Rhodes. If we die, none of this matters. None of it. And every hour you spend studying in here is another hour you get weaker and more tired.
Every hour we spend running is an hour I'll get weaker and more tired.
Well, if Epic catches up to us here, I've got bad news. We will be doing a lot of running.
I get this is how you've always done things, but everything doesn't have to be all cloak and dagger hiding in shadows. Sometimes things are just what they are. I promise I'm not leaning into chaos. We are not in a fight yet. Right now, this is diplomacy, a negotiation. I don't trust Epic, but I trust that he is a certain way. And the fact that we haven't needed to fight anything off yet is a testament to that.
She doesn't look away from the window. She hasn't in a long time, but her eyes narrow. He's a spy, Orryn, and a smokework agent. I have been both, and I lived through it. You've been neither, and I'm trying to help you survive it.
He was a spy and was a smokework agent. He is something bigger than all that now. Obviously assume everything is a lie, and obviously assume the plan we see isn't the plan that's happening. I'm sorry, but you haven't lived through or been whatever is happening here. And between the two of us, only one has actually met and interacted with this person before. Multiple times, I might add.
It always works out that way, doesn't it? Tyler says acidly. It always happens that only Orryn Ironhelm has the answer. It's just unfortunate, but I know you're talking out of your ass most of the time.
Dilute fan of Fraxis only ever has one.
I just want to point out here that every time I read this line, Dilute fan of Fraxis only has one ass. Oh.
That's my secret, Dilute. I've got millions of asses.
Dilute would believe that. And what's that?
Orryn opens his mouth to speak, but stops himself. His face has been getting more and more stern, his fists are clenched, but as he closes his mouth, it all softens a bit.
Dilute glances at him over her shoulder. Frustrated as she clearly is, it's not her usual temper slipping out. She seems walled off, tense and distant. You told me to calm down and settle in our first night here, she says. And then Epic read our thoughts without either of us noticing. No, Orryn, I don't think you know what you're doing or who you're dealing with. I will gladly admit I don't know either, but at least I know I know enough to not bet your life and mine on the fact that he hasn't tried to kill us yet.
I just think hiding is the absolute least productive thing we could be doing right now. It feels like you aren't thinking smart, you're thinking scared. I don't have the answer, Dilute, but I'm trying to find it. running through this hellhole of a city hoping it is keeping us any safer doesn't feel like it's going to help with that. I said it when we started. He wants us to fight this, to push back. This argument right now probably brings him delight to no end. And hearing him say that, he stops, a frustrated look on his face. He lets out a deep sigh and puts the book in his hand down on the table, puts on his hat, and walks over to go stand by Dilue at the window. But fine. If it would make you feel better, we can leave. Where do you want to go?
She doesn't say anything for a minute, as before, although this time she doesn't look as though she's contemplating the street outside. She schools her expression into blankness when Orryn walks over to join her, but for a moment he would see bitterness and hurt in her face. Althen's Tower, she says shortly, without feeling. Bring whatever you want. We can afford to carry a few books.
No idea what books I would grab. Kind of the point. And he turns and starts leaving.
Dilue counts to 10, then grabs whatever he was most recently reading and a couple other random books and stuffs them into her bag before heading out.
If she stops to do that, he would begrudgingly go over and grab a couple random things from Kincaid's personal research as well, and then back out the door. This is where we did a check-in to let Jared know that we had talked and we are not fighting as people.
Jared let us know that he was loving every moment.
Oh, with a few books under your arms, you notice something has changed in the city. You see fewer of the shadows as you traverse, and an increase of more violent-looking undead. Zombies, skeletons, ghouls, and crows cawing overhead. They aren't hunting you, but they do appear hungry, and there's definitely more in the city than there were before. But you think with some care you can still reach Althen's Tower.
Wait,
Dilue
Jared's got his own TV show, The Goldbergs?
I know.
I didn't even connect that. That's wonderful.
Here, sorry.
Dilue would press on, doing her absolute best Thane impression in an attempt to sneak past the monsters. If Orryn is again not trying to be stealthy, they are going to have words.
He's following along with whatever Dilue says.
Well, then that will be 2 Thane impressions with a side of sticking to the shadows and a completely silent cherry on top. Thank you.
At some point, he would probably whisper, "You're right, this is way safer," knowing she wouldn't blow their cover to argue, but otherwise he's quiet. Actually, no, that's right. He would message that to her.
She doesn't respond to that, even though she could, just looks tense and upset.
It takes a few careful hours, but you make it back to Althen's compound. The undead thin out as you reach the walls, replaced by the dense patrols of shadows that protect it. You think you could get back in the same way.
Dilue would have them go into one of the buildings and up to a window like before, but stop there and spy on the compound for a while to see if anything has changed on the inside. Also, are there any undead at all where the patrols are circulating? And if so, do they interact? She would spend some time trying to observe that if we haven't seen it already.
It takes some time to spot, but you do see one interaction between the undead. A group of zombies are crawling towards the compound when they see the shadows ahead. The zombies seem to intentionally slink away before they get spotted.
Huh, Dilue says tonelessly without looking at Orryn. I guess those shadows might keep us safe from the undead.
Yep, it'll be a great place to hide.
Yep. If there's no movement visible inside the compound, Dilue would propose that they swing across and camp out at the base of the tower, the storage floor on the same level as the roof.
There is no movement inside the compound, just as before.
And then if Orryn has no objections, she'll get them over the wall in the same way and head inside.
Yeah, he's game.
Once in the storage room, she unloads the books from her bag and stacks them next to Orryn, then stalks away, visibly trying to shake out some of the tension in her shoulders.
He just starts reading.
Dilue starts running through some slow practice movements with her short sword and dagger, both to clear her mind and to readjust herself to fighting without a rapier. It's been a while. She's mindful of further exhausting herself, but too anxious to sit still. Eventually, she would just sit and use a random sofa as target practice for her daggers for a while. Actually, I think she would just do that for a couple of minutes, then call over to Orryn. Do you have something I could write with? Beepity.
Orryn brings you pen, ink, and a blue leather-bound journal he pulls from his jacket. Here, you can use some paper from in there. Given that he used ink, you probably see from the used wrinklier pages that it is roughly 3/4 of the way full.
Thanks. Her tone is still brisk, but not hostile. She pulls out a sheet of paper without looking at the contents of the book, then writes for a while.
He would leave it. He would have set it next to her and gone back to reading.
I asked Jared if it's possible to write in Thieves' Cant. He said yes. It takes her a while, but she eventually has a page or so of writing, which she folds up within another sheet of paper and binds with some random twine or something. She then walks back over to Orryn and offers it to him along with his journal. For Thane, if something happens to me, don't read it.
Orryn pulls out a stack of his own letters, each one with one of the Frost Daggers' names on them. For everyone, and ditto. All of them are sealed with black wax, with the exception of Dilue's, which is sealed with green. He takes your letter but hands you back the journal. Give this back if we leave. Finish it if I don't.
Tyler looks down at the massive collection of parting words she's being handed and the one letter she's handing back and draws. Well, this is awkward. She takes the stack of letters and the journal from Orryn. Tell everyone else I liked them too. Hey, I want that back if we make it out.
He nods.
Anything from Epic?
Nope. He has gone back to reading, but you'll be the first to know if there is.
You ought to hassle him every once in a while. Let him know we're not going to wait forever if he won't come to the table. She would go back to throwing knives at a couch and thinking over the day. The one other thing she'd do is try to listen in on the voices of the shadows outside, not with her medallion of thoughts, but like when she tried to speak to Riffraff, to see how far she can be from them and still hear the whispers. She'd also try to ping Riffraff again.
No answer from Riffraff. How long do you intend to wait or read or practice if nothing happens before you would change plans?
A few hours or until he runs out of books, whichever comes first.
I think out of habit, Tyler would give it around 8 hours, sort of resting, even though she knows it doesn't work.
You've got enough books to last several days if you research them thoroughly. 4 hours pass and nothing has happened.
Bother him, Dylu says, just toying with the dagger now. You tell him we're gonna pull his stupid undead skin off. Oh, don't tell him that.
Orryn would give it another 4 in hopes of finding something in the books. Will do, he says, without looking up, a phrase which here means it was not something he would be doing.
For the next 4 hours, Dylu mostly sprawls on various couches and takes up praying, mentally, to the King of Rhodes and tuning into his spectral voice if she can.
The King of Rhodes channel is still broadcasting warnings and advice for travelers. You've yet to hear a repeat. Near the end of the 8th hour, Orryn, you find a story that matches some details from the Wayward collection. This may be a complete version of one of those stories told by a different author. It will take more time to read the story itself. At this point, you have both been going for 3 straight days. Despite knowing it does little good, you both feel sleep will be hard to avoid. Weariness and boredom stack on top of each other. Slumber is calling to you both.
I ask if the story is contained in one book, which I think it is. But
Dylu is probably already half dozing at this point in that bad way where you drift in and out of consciousness and are too tired to really tell what's real and what's a dream. I think the next time she wakes up enough to realize she doesn't know how long she's been out, she would claw her way back to reality and sit up. Orryn, you should rest.
he yawns. You're the one dozing off. I'll take first watch and then you can. Orryn asks if he feels like he'd be able to follow through with that offer, or take 4-hour sleep shifts, or if sleep is just coming.
Dylu would drag herself upright. Bullshit, Orryn. You've taken first watch 2 nights in a row, and you didn't rest at all last night. Close your eyes for a while.
Yeah, but you're too tired to protect me. I can always blast fire. You sleep first, and I promise I'll sleep after.
Orryn, she says with a yawn. I've been napping. Go the fuck to sleep. She plants herself on the windowsill looking out on the roof, her short sword left resting on her knee.
So, yes, the story is contained within one of the books. Orryn, you don't feel confident you can stay awake another hour. Dylu, you feel the same.
Orryn takes the book and packs it away on himself for later. This one may be important, so make sure you don't leave without it. I feel like our best bet here is to board this place up as much as we can and hope.
You might be right about that.
I can guarantee the ring doesn't get stolen, but it's pretty permanent.
Dilue stares at him for a second, and for the first time since their fight earlier, her face softens a little with worry. No, she says, not that, not yet. But let's sleep close together so someone couldn't get at you without disturbing me.
His eyes widen. Oh, God, no, not that. He pulls out the sovereign glue.
She
No.
just absolutely loses it laughing for a minute.
Son of a bitch wouldn't see that coming. He chuckles along.
You know, that is an asset I hadn't considered. Yeah. I mean, how attached are you to the idea of ever taking it off?
It could still come off. It would just cost me a finger. At the very least, I'd know if someone tried to get it off me.
It would sure slow him down. At the risk of you being glued to a ring forever, it ain't the worst idea I've ever heard.
This is where I read ever had, so Orryn misheard ever had in his delirious state and says, "Excuse me, if anyone is getting credit for coming up with permanently gluing an evil ring to my hand, it's me." He pulls off his glove and moves the ring to his pinky on his left hand and uncorks the glue. I hope it's not lost on you that this is the stupidest thing I have ever considered doing.
I don't believe that for a second.
Jared leaves chat for 5 minutes and our dumbasses pull out the sovereign glue.
We are retconning a story detail here. When Dilue scoured the house earlier and found the kitchens, there were some salted meats, wheels of cheese, and some clean water barrels.
Hell yes, we are feasting then. I imagine we're both very hungry and very tired of eating stale rations from before we had a chef at this point. This proposal has really pushed Dilue past an exhaustion event horizon where, at least for the moment, everything has become very funny.
Orryn loosens up too and helps bring in the food.
The good news is, Epic seems like a clever fellow, so I truly doubt he'll see that coming. Dilue slices up cheese and meats and makes them a charcuterie board while Orryn's doing the thing.
Orryn's still standing there holding the bottle of glue.
Somewhere in the distance, Vane senses that his friends are once again about to consume food and drink from another mysterious plane of existence and screams.
Orryn, did
we
you...
note
Yeah,
sorry,
whatever. This is just DM asking, how many ounces of glue did I give you?
And we have 4 ounces of sovereign glue. Each one covers 1 square foot.
We are not going to start subdividing the magic glue, so this idea will be taking 1 ounce.
I agree with that as a consequence for the stupidity of my actions.
We can always say that Dilue and Orryn use extra to make sure they know how fast it dries, etc. Are you gonna do it? I feel like this is a thing I shouldn't pressure you to do.
Orryn takes a deep breath. What the hell? It'll be a cool scar eventually, and he places a drop of glue where the ring meets his finger.
Dilue cracks up again and just keeps wheezing and giggling to herself while she eats cheese.
My favorite gif in this whole.
A link to the Benny Hill theme.
After a minute, the glue sets. It cannot be moved from your finger.
Orryn laughs as well, but his is much more of a nervous chuckle from like down in his gut. Oh man, we are fucked, aren't we? And he goes over to join her in eating.
Dilue has laughed so much she's crying a little. Oh god, absolutely fucked. I'm sorry, I can't think of anything useful I could glue myself to in solidarity.
He laughs. Don't worry about it. Hey, I'm sorry about earlier. I'm exhausted and just sorry.
She quiets for a moment, the shift in her demeanor enough to make it clear that she's not still upset about that. But then she leans over and slings an arm around his shoulders, pulling him into sort of an awkward side hug. Tell you what, we might have a few things to talk about when we get out of here, but it can wait till we're safe with a nice bottle of whiskey and one of Anis's best cakes.
He squeezes her back. Deal.
Okay, you finish eating. She gets up and, to the extent that she can still muster any energy, tries to rig up a few rudimentary noise-making traps around the windows and stairs using supplies from the servants' room downstairs.
Orryn helps where he can and sets up as comfortable a place as possible for them to sleep.
Once that's done, she goes to curl up in this makeshift blanket fort and throws an arm over Orryn once he's there, her other hand gripping a dagger.
He grins. Is that so you can gut me quick if need be?
Absolutely, she mumbles, her eyes already shut. She grins to herself. Hey, do you remember that time you glued a ring to your finger, like, permanently?
He closes his too. Remember when you woke up with a dagger glued to your hand, like, permanently? He chuckles.
She tries to say something rude about that, but it gets lost in yawn, and then she's asleep.
Orryn fights as long as possible and then passes out. And then just the line, Jared, I swear to God if we just died.